Life doesn't feel right. How can things be going so well, but also feel like I'm at a loss of what to do next? I feel like I'm going crazy. Why can't I just figure it out? Why do I feel so trapped? In a constant search of trying to find something more. It's difficult to try and grasp the reality of the situation. Once again, we find ourselves at the end of another adventurous year here on Earth. One that has led me, and many others, to areas we have never found ourselves before, both physically and mentally. With the COVID pandemic heading farther and farther into the rearview mirror, and the 2020s still marching on as we creep into the middle of the decade, the year 2023 found itself to be as less intense as its earlier counterparts. However, this should not understate the shocking events that have occurred over the past 365 days. 2023's complexity is unique. We may now be long out of the woods when it comes to the pandemic, but in terms of new global issues, we can't help but look towards the worst. Our sense of pessimism remains dominant in a world that most seem to agree is constantly at its limit, ready to plunge itself into darkness. Yeah, since the events of 2020, life has returned to normal, but with new challenges that we must face, and with the knowledge that there may not be a solution for everything. Knowing that, we can't help but shudder at the worry that the worst is yet to come. As another stepping stone of what the 2020s will be, 2023 brought new cultural trends, not to mention political tensions of unique proportions, and of course, change to ourselves as individuals. That's right, viewer. I can't help but think about you and how you've been doing throughout the year. As we go through this year, we will look inwardly and see how we're feeling as the world's news stories have continued to impact us. Not only that, I have to do the reckoning with dealing of how I'm doing. I first started recapping the years when I was 17 years old, and now, at 24, I've accepted something. It just wouldn't feel right if I didn't end the year with a retrospect of what happened in the past 12 months. I use these year in reviews as some sort of checkpoint, as a way to see how me, my friends, and fellow viewers are doing. I've given myself this objective of recapping each year, and I've known for a long time now that's what I'm going to have to do until I just can't anymore. Now it's time for me to do my job and talk about the past 365 days. Today, on December 31st, we will chronicle the year that was, but not only that, we will also look inwardly at ourselves and predict where we're heading. There's so much to delve into. Ladies and gentlemen and fellow historians, this was the year known as 2023. Let's get into the swing of things. As January rang in the new year, as did a new Congress for the United States. The 118th Congress was about to have a very hectic year, and to start it all off, there was a crisis in the House of Representatives. As this was a new session of Congress, coming in after the 2022 midterm elections, in order to make those results official, the new Congress needed to be inaugurated with a new Senate and a new House. In order for the House of Representatives to be inaugurated, they needed to elect a new Speaker of the House to allow Congress to be in session. Problem was, the leading nominee for the Speaker of the House, Republican Kevin McCarthy, had made enemies with the most right-leaning flank of his party, who believed that McCarthy wasn't looking out for their best interests. What ended up happening in the first week of 2023 on the House floor was pure chaos, as Kevin McCarthy kept trying over and over again to be elected Speaker, only to fail in the vote over and over again. After losing 15 ballots, McCarthy was finally able to become Speaker on January 7th after much embarrassment and negotiation with his most hard-right colleagues.
That was easy, huh? I never thought we'd get up here.
However, this came with a catch. One of the concessions made it so just one representative could call a vote to oust McCarthy from the speakership if they were unhappy with his work. This would serve to bite McCarthy later in the year. Believe it or not, this story actually relates to me. In 2023, I traveled a lot. To kick it all off, in early January, I went on a trip with my friends Josh, you know, the streamer, my friend Ian, and Michael, and we had ourselves a hell of a time visiting Washington, D.C. and the surrounding Virginia area. We visited Monticello, which was Thomas Jefferson's house, and made a couple Minecraft jokes.
Josh, there's no curve.
Josh, no, look. Minecraft.
Oh, dude, it's like, okay, so if you read a task for us.
And also Appomattox Courthouse, where General Lee surrendered to General Grant to bring the Civil War to a conclusion, and also visited the White House and the Capitol on January 6th. That is January 6th of 2023. With that in mind, it was hectic to be in DC while this was all going down. There were protesters all around, I had Waffle House at some point and it sucked, but hey, I did visit George Washington's home, Mount Vernon, and it was beautiful, as was the entirety of DC, and it made a lot of memories with friends, and it was also in the era to watch Kevin McCarthy get absolutely destroyed. So I would say it was an incredible trip. I might make it a full vlog in the future. Okay, time to talk about a 6-year-old kid who shot their teacher. On January 6th, a 6-year-old boy seriously wounded their teacher with a bullet when they brought a gun to school. This story brought national attention, with a kid shooting their teacher while their instructor was reading to the class, with the mother of the child being charged with child neglect for not being more careful with the weapon. Overall, dude, why didn't you just keep your gun locked away safely? Kind of dumb. Hey, do you guys like Cage the Elephant? Yeah, I like the album Social Cues, but something about the lead singer, Matt Schultz, pulling out a gun from his pocket while in a public restroom in Manhattan on January 8th seems a little less about the music. The artist was able to avoid jail time after entering a plea deal, and it seems he just made a very bizarre mistake. He's hoping to keep this behind him. Megan came out as the first big movie of 2023, a horror movie about a doll. For a horror movie released in January, it actually received quite a lot of buzz. Never fear though, because in January, influencer Logan Paul found himself in more controversy when it was revealed that Logan Paul had abandoned his pet pig, which he originally thought would be a mini pig, behind in California when he moved to Puerto Rico. The Gentle-Born Sanctuary rescued the pig, who was cowering next to a dead pig when they found him. They were able to cheer up the pig again and save it. The rescuer said the pig was lucky to be alive. Screw you, Logan. The show Inside Job got cancelled on Netflix, but once again, never fear, because around the same time, Netflix announced the show Agent Elvis, to quell the many people who were upset about the news. Finally, let's get to one of our main characters of the year, Joe Biden. Biden did not have a great 2023, and to begin the year, classified documents from his time as vice president were found at one of his homes. When you leave the presidency or vice presidency, you're supposed to give these documents to the federal government. So this action was illegal. The Attorney General under Biden, Merrick Garland, appointed a special counsel to investigate why these documents were never submitted. Amid the politics, a sideshow was the intense hatred to the new Scooby-Doo show, Velma, which was ridiculed for its terrible humor and its forced attempt to be an adult show. It was almost as if it was one long, unfunny Family Guy skit. Wow, look at this, it's Scooby-Doo, but with adult themes. It's no wonder the show got absolutely trounced. Audience reception described it as the worst show ever produced by HBO, and overall, I can agree.
I'm not just a waitress, I'm also
a basic bitch who doesn't even know how to use hashtags.
Cartoons were a hit or a miss this year, but nowhere was it more of a miss than with Rick and Morty, and that all has to do with the show's creator. In January, Justin Roiland, voice of Rick and Morty, faced a battery charge, leading him to be removed as head showrunner and voice actor for the show. Not only that, but he was also accused of harassing his coworkers, being overall weird in Twitter DMs, among being racist, and posing an exaggerated Chinese stereotype. The charges were eventually cleared due to insufficient evidence from the court, however the damage had already been done on his reputation. So they ended up hiring new Rick and Morty voice actors. Morty sounds fine, but Rick sounds pretty not great.
Hey look, Morty! I'm a leg! A leg, Morty!
Not only that, but Justin Roiland was also removed from Solar Opposites. Truly a bad day for the one Solar Opposites fan who actually likes this show. On January 21st, a mass shooting took place in Monterey Park, California, killing 11 people. Occurring at a dance studio during the Lunar New Year, the tragic event could have been worse if it wasn't for the help of a hero named Brandon. In one of the most powerful stories of the year, Brandon showed courage and was able to disarm the perpetrator.
I had the belief that I was gonna die, like my life was ending here at that very moment. But he started to try to prep his weapons so he could shoot everybody. But then it dawned on me that this was the moment to disarm him. I could do something here that could protect everybody.
The perpetrator then found himself in a standoff with police, unaliving himself during the showdown. As 2023 continued, gun shootings would remain frequent, with the same arguments being presented for stricter gun laws, and with pushback in government. It's hard to say, but we made no progress in reforming anything. On January 23rd, reeling from Tucker Carlson's obsession of not making the green M&M attractive enough, M&M's decided to put the mascots on indefinite hiatus. Many saw this as a response to the growing criticism the company faced for changing up the style of key M&M characters. But in reality, it was all a marketing ploy to sell more chocolates and to stir up the pot. What wasn't a marketing ploy was the abrupt farewell of the band Panic at the Disco. Panic, which had drifted away from being an actual band and really led to being Brendan Urie's own project, had dealt with a rocky tour in which Brendan was unable to hit some major notes.
Now you know it's live. Fuck me.
As someone who was a major Panic fan back in middle school, this was probably for the best. The band's recent output hasn't been great, and much of the music has turned to stuff you'd listen to from the speakers while shopping for a new jacket at Old Navy. Once you reach that fate, you're basically already dead. In reaction to bio-threats and the Earth getting progressively hotter and hotter, the crisis in Ukraine, and responding to the rhetoric of Vladimir Putin when it has to do with nuclear escalation, the Doomsday Clock was set to 90 seconds before midnight. The Doomsday Clock, which has existed since 1946, measures how close the Earth is to complete destruction. So with it being the closest it's ever been, it should be incredibly alarming, but instead we were focused on Trump getting unbanned off Facebook instead, which albeit was big news. See, it had been 2 years prior since the January 6th insurrection. Almost immediately after the riot, Twitter, Facebook, and various other social media sites banned Trump. In late 2022, Twitter had unbanned Trump, and Facebook followed suit only a couple months later. Facebook had decided that with new guardrails now on the website, they should unban the former president, in order for others to hear what their politicians were saying. Donald Trump's 2023 was only just getting started, as was Mr. Beast's 2023, entering the new year with controversy surrounding a video he released in which he gave back vision to many people who are blind. A portion of Twitter went crazy and deemed this as exploiting people for money, where a majority saw this as a net good. Crazy to see this being debated upon, because one would think curing blindness to be an overall good. I side with Mr. Beast, but I do admit the thumbnail for this video is wild. Speaking of Mr. Beast, a meme of him from an Epic Rap Battles parody went viral, of the announcer just saying his name. It was kind of epic.
Mr. Beast!
Burger King released a song in which it had the catchiest and easiest hook to memorize. It was just the ad saying Whopper Whopper over and over again. It was awesome and also became one of the biggest memes of the year.
Whopper, 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 Junior, Double, Triple, Whopper.
On a weirder note, Twitch streamer A.K.A. issued an apology after accidentally revealing that he watched deepfake lewd videos of popular streamers such as Pokimane, Cutie Cinderella, and many others, with many of these streamers actually being his friends. He issued this apology while his wife was right next to him crying. Oh my god. For his friends and family, I feel bad for them. As for A.K.A., Jesus dude, what the hell. By the end of January, Lil Yachty released a new album that hit different from his previous ones. Being less of a rap album and more of an alternative psychedelic production, it was pretty solid. With the cover art being AI generated, it was the first of many major album releases in 2023. To cap off the month, a joke from Family Guy went viral. The video is just Carter Pewterschmidt dancing, walking, and rearranging furniture, parodying a Justin Timberlake music video that had come out many years before. Honestly, I was a pretty big fan of this one. January began the month with much political drama that would see itself unfold as the year went on. With that being said, in terms of pop culture, the year began strong. As a side note, I got my silver play button from YouTube in January, so that was pretty cool. Thanks for that one, guys. On to the second month of the year. Well, it's a better time than ever to tell you guys how I was doing in 2023. With YouTube as one of my top priorities, I will admit I did fall behind with treating it as a job, as I would find myself hanging out at Disneyland more than not, and also fooling around with friends. So much so that in February, I went on 2 trips across the country. For the first trip, I went to Florida and visited all 4 parks at Disney World. Disney World was freaking sweet. I got to go on the new Tron ride, which was like a 1-minute ride that was just okay, but hey, at least I did get to stay at the cabins at Disney's Fort Wilderness Resort, which was pretty cool. I went to a rainforest cafe, and it was thunderstorming outside, which really set the mood. And hey look, I made friends with a fish. Avatar at Animal Kingdom was incredible. Seriously, the queue for Flight of Passage was mind-blowing. And I also got to go to the biggest McDonald's for the second time in my life. I also ate at this Beauty and the Beast themed restaurant named Be Our Guest, and had some good flaming yang. Okay, now that I'm able to report this trip on my taxes, I can move on to the next course of events. At the beginning of February, a Chinese balloon flew over the United States. The balloon had intelligence collecting equipment on it, with the Chinese stating that the balloon was a meteorological airship that had flown off course, while the US rejected this idea by stating that the Chinese were trying to spy on us, which yeah, of course they were. US planes shot the balloon down, and this event would increase US-China tensions, with the Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, delaying a diplomatic trip to Beijing. In February, Kill Bill by SZA was topping the charts. It's such a catchy song, one of my favorites of the year. On February 3rd, a train carrying hazardous materials in East Palestine, Ohio, derailed, releasing hydrogen chloride and phosphine into the air. With pollution in the air, Trump, who is now running for president, decided to go to East Palestine and give everyone McDonald's. He told everyone he knew the menu at McDonald's better than anyone.
So I know this menu better than you do, okay? I probably know it better than anybody in here.
In February, Netflix was originally planning on cracking down on sharing passwords. Just another case of a streaming site becoming increasingly more greedy. Speaking of movies, EMC also abandoned a suggested plan in 2023 to charge higher prices for the best seats at a movie theater. But once met with criticism, they decided not to go through with it. On February 6th, Turkey and Syria experienced a horrific 7.8 earthquake, which nearly killed 60,000 people. Being one of the strongest earthquakes ever recorded in Levant, an estimated 14 million people were said to be affected by it. My heart goes out to the victims who had to undergo this tragedy. On February 7th, President Biden held a State of the Union address to the nation. Biden touted a job comeback following the COVID crisis, while also admitting that the economy was facing turbulence due to inflation. He castigated Republicans and accused them of trying to remove Social Security and Medicare, to which Republicans booed at that allegation.
Some Republicans want Medicare and Social Security to sunset. I'm not saying it's a majority. Let me give you, anybody who doubts it, contact my office. I'll give you a copy. I'll give you a copy of the proposal.
A speech that was populist at its core, it set the tone to what Biden was trying to accomplish in 2023. The bigger story of the month had to do with a congressman by the name of George Santos, to which Senator Mitt Romney told him that he didn't belong in Congress. George Santos is super bizarre. Winning a New York congressional seat in 2022, his entire career is one surrounded by fabrications and controversy. He claimed he was Jewish and that his grandparents survived the Holocaust, and also stated that he worked for Goldman Sachs in his resumes. He went on to state he went to New York University of Baruch College, and also claimed he had 4 employees killed in the 2016 Pulse nightclub shooting, and that his mom was in the World Trade Center on 9/11. He made up all of this. The only thing that was actually true is that at some point, he was a drag queen, and also used campaign funds to pay for OnlyFans. He's actually quite the wild guy, and we'll get to him a lot more later in the year. On the 12th, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced that the US had shot down an unidentified object over northern Canada. Immediately, people thought this had to do with aliens. In fact, 2023 was big when it came to people confirming the existence of UFOs, and also confirming the possibility that there are aliens. The Super Bowl was held the same day, with the Kansas Chiefs winning over the Philadelphia Eagles in a relatively close game. The halftime show had Rihanna coming out, which was actually a pretty solid performance, but other than that, I don't have much else to say about football. In big YouTube news, the CEO of the website, Susan Wojcicki, stepped down. Many hoped this would bring big change for the better when it came to the website, but in reality, it didn't do much. Neil Mohan, who's one of the higher ups at YouTube, took the role of CEO, and overall, there has been no major changes. Well, I guess that was wishful thinking. The senator from Pennsylvania, John Fetterman, had to be hospitalized for depression in the aftermath of a stroke he had had a year before. Dealing with his mental health, he was able to check out of the hospital a month later, urging those to seek medical help to challenge those issues. In sadder news, famous Die Hard actor Bruce Willis was diagnosed with dementia in February. I've really loved Bruce Willis in many of his movie roles, so this news bummed me and many out. Here's hoping the best for you, Bruce. On February 16th, yet another train derailment occurred in Detroit, Michigan, but thankfully this time, no hazardous material was sent into the air. Funny enough, I was actually in Detroit on the same day for a layover as I was heading to New England to hang out with my friends Bernie Vids and Turkey Tom. I was stupid the morning of and basically had to miss my flight because I woke up too late and had to bend to the might of Los Angeles traffic, so I ended up having to rebook my flight for a couple $100s because I didn't get flight insurance. It sucked. Oh well, the trip to New England was cool. I went to Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Maine. I also attempted to ice skate for the first time, which led me to almost eat shit multiple times and be absolutely bested by 10-year-olds who knew how to ice skate way better than me. Also, as a funny fun fact, I didn't touch snow for the first time in my life until this year when I touched it in Maine. Yeah, I'm really Southern Californian. I also went to Boston, which was a pretty cool city, and went to the JFK Presidential Library. I hope to be back back here again real soon, because the amount of history New England has is seriously awesome. On February 18th, 39th President Jimmy Carter entered hospice at the age of 98. As he entered his final era of his life, he wished his country well. Godspeed, Mr. President. On February 21st, Vladimir Putin, who was in the middle of his war with Ukraine, sent fear all over the world when he suspended the New START Treaty, which had originally agreed to limit both Russia and the United States' nuclear arsenals. Russia stated that they would test a nuclear weapon if needed if the United States continued to interfere with the Ukrainian crisis, to which we did by continuing to send Ukraine billions of dollars throughout the entire year. Okay, time to talk about Gorillaz, Cracker Island, the band's major album release that came out on February 24th, 2023. If you've been with this YouTube channel long enough, you would know I used to be an avid Gorillaz fan. I mean, I still like the band's older stuff, I just wasn't as keen when it came to their latest record. Are you telling me the same band that gave us both the Demon Days and Plastic Beach cover arts gave us this? What is 2D doing? The tracks on the record don't really pull me in. I'm not a fan of the lead single, Cracker Island. I think the chorus is kind of annoying, but I do like the song New Gold, which is more of like a Tame Impala song rather than an actual Gorillaz song, and also the song Tormenta is pretty solid as well. It's a very simple record, one that isn't as comprehensive as its previous, which isn't bad, but just leads to a more forgettable record that I don't find myself ever really revisiting. To all those who are awaiting my thoughts on the record, sorry, but my thoughts on it aren't too positive. In February, the world was introduced to the rapper Ice Spice, who gained notoriety for her verse on Boys That Liar Part 2. A breakout star, many people across all social media grew infatuated with her. One of the most pop culturally relevant songs of the year, she would continue to get attention with whatever she did next. This winter, California experienced one of its wettest winters in years. I remember how often it would rain during this winter. In fact, it rained so much, California was able to get out of its drought, which it had been in for a long time. The first Marvel movie to come out in 2023 was Ant-Man 3, and it was one of the most okay films ever. The main villain of the movie was this guy named Kang, to which most fans reacted lukewarm to, so much so that the movie flopped at the box office, failing to receive any major buzz. This would foreshadow Marvel's worst year to date in the pending months. However, a movie that did succeed in the box office was Cocaine Bear, running on a budget of $35 million and also a dream. It was a funny movie about a bear who did cocaine and ran around killing people. I'd recommend it if you're looking for something with a killer comedic kick. Ant-Man flopped and Cocaine Bear won. Jake Paul had his first boxing loss on February 26th, losing to Tommy Fury. Paul would later state that the fight was a humbling experience for him that he really needed. Trump, Biden, and Obama became big memes by the end of February, with Discord calls between the three of them debating whatever topic going viral.
This game may have been good when it first came out, but these days, it's just a big, empty, boring world.
L.
Hyrule Field is fucking empty.
L.
All the dungeons are easy as fuck.
L take.
And the shut the fuck up.
This was all made possible due to the capability of AI. Being able to AI Trump, Obama, and Biden's voices, it presented the softer side of artificial intelligence. As on the flip side, there were many fears that grew surrounding it. There were those who feared the loss of jobs due to AI, but not only that, the creation of deepfake videos that could also lead to harm, especially with the pending 2024 election cycle that was on the horizon. By the end of February, the long-running comic Dilbert was announced to come to an end. You may be wondering, who cares about Dilbert? Well, not me. And with that, let's get on to the personal side. February brought along the end of winter and the coming of spring. I was happy when it came to the travels I was doing, but grew unhappy with the progress I was making on YouTube, as it kept becoming sidetracked. I saw myself with a lot of potential, only to squander it by getting distracted by whatever else. Something that would continue to bother me time and time again as the year went on, and as I would get easily distracted with other initiatives. I was beginning to get bothered by my work ethic, and I didn't like it, not at all. Things didn't feel right. In early March, Mr. Beast asked all his followers to fix the displays of his candy in stores. He also stated that he wouldn't have a problem with people moving Hershey chocolate bars aside in place of his candy Feastables. Once again, this led to more controversy, with people on Twitter stating that Mr. Beast was exploiting his fans, while others just found the entire thing frankly non-offensive. While people were complaining about chocolate bars, Tucker Carlson took to Fox News and released footage of January 6th, with Capitol Police warning that releasing such footage from the Capitol would be a security threat for the building. Carlson's purpose of releasing the footage was to question the official story of January 6th, with Tucker alluding to that the rioters were justified in their insurrection. This really didn't change anyone's opinions on what happened that day. If anything, it only intensified harsh feelings. Side note, Zyn was big this year. It's like this little nicotine patch that you put in your mouth. I mention this because Tucker was a big promoter of Zyn, helping it become mainstream. Zyn is so funny to me, especially because I have a friend of mine who's obsessed with it and won't stop raving about it. It's not for me.
The volume of nicotine in here could save the world. There's enough nicotine in this container to alter the course of history.
By March, famous country singer Morgan Wallen topped the charts by releasing this hit song, Last Night. I don't really care for country, but this song is different. A nice song about drinking with your buddies and also having your heart broken. With AI becoming stronger, an application known as ChatGPT grew to prominence. Essentially, you would give this application a prompt and it would reply back with a detailed answer. This would lead to many students using this application for essays. Teachers caught wind of this pretty quickly and would later create tools to combat the use of ChatGPT. Its AI chatbox capabilities are advanced, and honestly, AI is still so new that there's no telling where it's going to go in the next few years. Personally, before things get too out of hand, there may need to be some regulation needed to prevent anything dangerous from happening. On March 10th, Silicon Valley Bank, a major bank in California, closed down due to investments becoming greatly decreased in value, and after its depositors withdrew a lot of money. I mention this because a bank as big as Silicon Valley closing down indicates a lack of consumer confidence in the banking world. The Federal Reserve chose not to save the bank, with such distrust in a bank having ramifications onto other banks, which also led them to collapse. On March 12th, Jimmy Kimmel hosted the 95th Academy Awards, and damn did it suck. As per usual. Me and my friend Michael gathered around his computer to watch the ceremonies, and prior I bought a pack of Beast, an alcoholic monster energy drink that tasted terrible. I bought a 12-pack between me and him, and we slowly grew more intoxicated and frustrated as the ceremonies went on. It truly was one of the worst experiences of my life. The movie Everything Everywhere All at Once swept the award ceremony with supporting actor Ke-Huy Quan, whose last major role was in the 1980s as the little boy in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, winning Best Supporting Actor. Everything Everywhere All at Once is a fantastic movie, and to see Quan having a major comeback due to the movie was very heartwarming.
My mom is 84 years old, and she's at home watching. Mom, I just want an Oscar.
Elvis was nominated for various categories and won nothing, which I thought was pretty funny. And finally, Brendan Fraser, who for years suffered career setbacks, finally was able to prevail and win Best Actor, bringing Fraser back to the spotlight and likely securing him more great roles in the future. Jimmy Kimmel sucked as host though, but what else is new? On the same day, The Last of Us HBO show wrapped up its first season, with many critics raving how great it was. To be honest, I haven't watched the show, but I keep hearing good things about it, with Pedro Pascal becoming the most famous man on the planet in the beginning of 2023, simply because of his acting chops. On March 14th, Joe Biden approved the controversial Willow Project, which allowed mass oil drilling in Alaska, angering climate activists. Critics viewed this as a positive towards Alaska's economy, but climate activists viewed this as harmful to the world as a whole, claiming that Biden betrayed his campaign promises. This idea of Biden betraying his promises would be alluded to as the year continued. By mid-March, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis was hinting at a 2024 presidential campaign. He was out on a tour selling his book to conservatives, while Donald Trump would resort to Truth Social to crap on DeSantis, labeling DeSantis as a traitor. See, back in 2018, Trump endorsed DeSantis for governor, so now that he saw DeSantis trying to get the Republican nomination, he saw this as a backstab. Trump was determined to put Ron DeSantis back into his place. In fact, that both of them took shots at each other's sex lives, with Trump suggesting DeSantis was a pedophile and or maybe gay, stating that DeSantis may have fooled around with underage women or even men. This is hilarious. On March 20th, Dunkin' Donuts decided to ruin everyone's lives and pull the Dunkin' Chino from their menu. What the hell is wrong with you guys? Oh, but it gets even worse. In the same month, Taco Bell discontinued the Quesarito, and I know my 16-year-old self, who would always go to Taco Bell for lunch during high school, would have been pissed. On March 17th, 2023, Lance Reddick, a famous actor who appeared in The Wire and John Wick franchise, passed away at the age 60 due to heart disease. He will be missed. On March 24th, TikTok CEO Xiao Zi tested before Congress, having to deal with the most technologically impaired people of all time. They grilled the CEO for 5 hours straight, deciding whether or not they should ban TikTok. Some questions were valid, with congressmen asking how addictive the application was to teens, how data privacy was handled, and how misinformation on the app could run wild without regulation. While other committee members, who were more accusatory to the CEO, went off on him, stating that TikTok was a weapon by the Chinese Communist Party to spy and manipulate the typical American. Other committee members also asked the most embarrassing things known to man.
Mr. Chu, does TikTok access the home Wi-Fi network?
Only if the user turns on the Wi-Fi. I'm sorry, I may not understand the...
So if I have TikTok app on my phone and my phone is on my home Wi-Fi network, does TikTok access that network?
Jesus Christ, how did these guys get elected into public office? Kanye West. So if you all recall, during my 2022 year in review, I went on an entire spiel on what was up with Kanye. And may we not forget the Alex Jones incident of December 2022. For some reason, on March 25th, Kanye West decided to drop out of nowhere that he no longer hated Jewish people because he watched 21 Jump Street. Quote, watching Jonah Hill and 21 Jump Street made me like Jewish people again. No one should take anger against one or two individuals and transform them into hatred towards millions of innocent people. No Christian can be labeled anti-Semite knowing Jesus is a Jew. Thank you, Jonah Hill. I love you. Just when I think things couldn't get any more crazier, they end up getting wackier. I mean, I don't even know how else to respond to this. The guy seriously started loving Jewish people again because he saw my name with Jeff. You can't make this shit up. On March 27th, the Nashville school shooting occurred, killing 6 people. The perpetrator, Aiden Hale, was a transgender man who was neutralized at the scene of the crime. Following the shooting, there was an outcry for stricter gun laws, while those on the most extreme viewed the shooting as a way to target those who are trans. In the aftermath, a rise in transgender discrimination increased, with stricter legislation against trans individuals being passed across various states. As the year played out, trans Americans were found in a study to be 4 times more likely to be victims of violent crime than cisgender individuals. As political debate has continued to unfold, transgenders have faced increased tension from GOP lawmakers, who will do anything to strip away their rights. Donald Trump got indicted multiple times this year, with his first indictment being on March 30th. A Manhattan grand jury indicted Trump with over 30 counts related to business fraud. We'll get into this soon, because we have Sneeko versus Moist Critical to talk about.
You started shit with me by insulting me and my girlfriend out of nowhere, so naturally I responded by making fun of you in return, and showcasing the reasons why I don't respect you.
Okay, so Sneeko sucks. Originally, Sneeko went after Critical's relationship with his girlfriend for literally no reason, just because Sneeko's an asshole with nothing else to do. He kept sharing this image filled with content creators. Essentially, he kept calling everyone in this photo so and cringe, with Critical responding stating that Sneeko was pathetic, and also over the fact that Sneeko watched his girlfriend have her way with another man. It was super funny. Moise made a video showing off his guns in response to Sneeko, while Meat Canyon made a funny cartoon. There's not much else to say, apparently they talked about it, and there was nothing else in the drama's aftermath, but I just find it funny just how completely owned Sneeko was. On March 28th, in the aftermath of her 2021 arrest for assaulting their mother, Christine Chandler, also known as Chris Chan, was released from prison after their case was dismissed. How, you may ask? Well, it's unclear why the court ordered her release, so only God really knows why, with people stating it was the powers of the Sonic Chew medallion, but who the hell really knows? This person is a complete menace. In March, Ash and Pikachu's journey came to an end. After 26 years and 1,232 episodes, Ash was able to become a Pokemon Master, revisiting old friends along the way, such as Misty and Brock. Many rejoiced in finally knowing that Ash had done it. I was a huge Pokemon fan as a kid, and although I never kept up with the anime during my teenage and adult years, being able to know that Ash and Pikachu did it felt incredibly satisfying. With the final major fight in the show playing the original Pokemon theme song, the finality to this story was perfect. Ash had done it. He had become a Pokemon Master. What else is there to say about March? On to the next month. At the beginning of April, Andrew Tate was released from jail and was put under house arrest. Arrested under the allegations of human trafficking and forming an organized crime group, he really lost most of his relevance when he was put in prison. Like, think about it. Have you heard anyone really talk about Andrew Tate since 2022? Even Sneeko has way more relevance than he does. What people did care about though was the beer Bud Light marketing special non-binary beers. This pissed off a conservative crowd quite a lot. So much so that Kid Rock was shooting the beer cans due to Bud Light's support of the LGBT. The purpose of the campaign was to celebrate everyone's identity, with the TikTok star, Dylan Mulvaney, being the face of the project. But it ignited such an internet firestorm that this became one of the biggest issues of the month. Why did it matter so much? I don't know, man. I just saw it as a simple beer marketing campaign. It got so crazy that Senator Ted Cruz was demanding the Senate probe into Bud Light and investigate its marketing partnership with Dylan Mulvaney. Seriously guys, it's not that deep. The beer company tried to move on, launching a sports-themed campaign in the months after. However, this was such a big news story that the company's profits slumped 28%, with Modelo besting Bud Light as the top-selling beer in the US. What makes it kinda funny is that Kid Rock still sells Bud Light at his steakhouse, despite the fact he was so pissed he shot up the cans of beer. Bud Light is now trying to heal again from the backlash, but it may take a while for the most passionate right-wingers to go back to drinking it. Donald Trump made history on April 4th when he was arraigned on federal charges. He became the first former president to be placed under arrest, hearing the charges against him. One of the charges placed against him had to do with the hush money he gave to adult actress Stormy Daniels to prevent negative information that would have hurt his 2016 presidential campaign. Trump would plead not guilty. In fact, he ended up giving a speech that evening after his arraignment, declaring how innocent he was. Yeah, he was pissed.
I did everything right and they indicted me.
Hey, you guys like Cash App? I used it the other day to pay back an old pal for Italian food, only to find out that the Cash App CEO was stabbed to death by an IT consultant in April. Jesus Christ. The guy who stabbed him drove to a secluded spot with the CEO and stabbed him over a dispute that related to the stabber's sister. My God. In big internet news, Chris, one of the members of Mr. Beast, came out as trans. When met with backlash, Mr. Beast responded to haters, stating that Chris was his friend and that all the transphobia being thrown at her was starting to piss him off. In the months following, internet trolls have tried to bring down Chris, while Chris has tried to live a normal life. Hey, at least Chris is succeeding, right? So good for her. On April 9th, the Dalai Lama faced inappropriate allegations after he told a child to suck his tongue. Alright, what the hell? So for those who don't know, the Dalai Lama is the holiest figure in Tibetan Buddhism. I mean, yeah, it's weird. Why would you ask for this? The Dalai Lama would later state his intentions were innocent and playful, but wished to apologize if he offended anyone, and that he regretted the incident. On April 5th, the long-awaited Super Mario Bros. Movie came out, and I actually really liked it. Is it nostalgia bait? Yeah, kind of, but I thought it was a cute movie. I was able to bear Chris Pratt as Mario, and Jack Black as Bowser was easily the best part of the film. The Peaches song was funny, and became a big meme as soon as the movie dropped. A part that did suck is that at one point in the climax of the movie, a blue-shelled character yells out "Blue Shell" and tries to attack Mario, which seems pretty jarring and forced, especially if you're watching the movie without knowing what the blue shell is, or what it does in Mario Kart. It's no wonder critics of this film didn't like it, because if I knew nothing, I'd be so confused as well. I do love all the little Easter eggs throughout the film though. The movie did mad numbers, becoming the 16th highest grossing film of all time, and with an assured sequel in the coming years. Overall, I had a fun time, and that's all that matters in my eyes. I know, I'm usually critical when it comes to mindless movies, but I guess you can say I sold out at this movie because hey, I love me some Mario. On April 10th, a shooting occurred in Louisville, Kentucky at an old national bank, killing 5 people. The perpetrator began live streaming the shooting on Instagram, and once again, gun reform was pushed and debate occurred, but nothing else changed. By mid-April, YouTuber iDubbbz found himself in controversy. iDubbbz had kicked out the fighter Froggy Fresh out of his upcoming boxing event, Creator Clash, over Fresh's training with Sam Hyde, whom iDubbbz had bad blood with. This angered many who loved Froggy Fresh and Sam Hyde. This is weird because I was actually at this event. I flew out to Tampa for Creator Clash 2 and hung out with many of my friends. I even went to Epcot with a couple friends for a day and went on the Guardians of the Galaxy roller coaster, which is seriously one of the most fun coasters I've ever been on. It feels like you're flying. Dude, I even got I Ran by Flock of Seagulls to play while I was on the coaster, which was epic. And I generally just enjoyed the Florida sun in Tampa and in Orlando. April 15th was the day of the event, and after it was all done, I went to Moist Critical's after party. And I got to meet the game theorist himself, MatPat, who was seriously super nice. We talked about Broadway shows, and I mentioned how one of the songs he used for one of his old videos from the musical Avenue Q got me into musicals in 2011. If it wasn't for MatPat, I wouldn't be as avid of a fan of musicals. I hung out with my pals June and the Gamer from Mars, and thanked Charlie for having us at his party. I also met fellow Weezer fan Mark But Evil, and he was such a nice guy. Hope I can see him again soon. Creator Clash as an event is actually super fun. Hanging with my friends, both content creators and non-content creators, was so chill. Cheering on creators to beat each other up and hanging out with everyone really made me love this entire thing. That being said, IDubbbz's controversies weren't over yet. I also bet $1 on a fight between me and my friend, and I got a little too excited when I won that bet, yelling at my friend how much more awesome I was and that he was coping. While I was in Tampa for Creator Clash, so were tens of thousands of Taylor Swift fans, who were in town for her Eras Tour. Her incredibly successful tour that took the year by storm, selling out each US date, was met with critical acclaim. During the tour, she broke up with her boyfriend of 6 years, which would eventually lead to a very publicized relationship months later. I didn't get to go on the tour, but from the videos I have seen, it was super cool. I do like Taylor Swift's music, and I do wish I could see her one day, but I wasn't desperate enough to see her that I would drop over $1,000 on resale tickets. Seriously, scalpers were fierce when it came to this store. Coachella was held in mid-April. I skipped out on it this year, but it was seen as a failure as Frank Ocean's set, with a show that was originally going to have ice skaters, but to which Frank Ocean didn't want to have ice skaters last minute. To adjusted songs that didn't sound like the original counterparts, the entire show left many fans severely disappointed, especially since this was the first Frank Ocean concert since 2017. It's okay, because at least on April 20th, we have the launch of Starship rocket SpaceX. Never mind, it blew up. I don't know what was worse, the failure of the Starship or the BuzzFeed news department going belly up and dying, as BuzzFeed laid off 15% of its staff in April. As for glorious endings, at least The Phantom of the Opera, the longest running musical on Broadway, running for 37 years, came to an incredible close. In order to get a verified checkmark on Twitter, you had to pay for it now, which led to a couple of my friends simply choosing not to buy it because why would you want to spend $8 a month to be verified on Twitter if you just shitpost most of the time? On April 21st, Mac DeMarco released an 8-hour album that I listened to while on a road trip. It's an interesting album that has some really good tracks, but I'm unable to remember a large majority of it because, well, it's 8 hours. How am I going to remember most of this? I guess it's more of a chill album to listen to while you're studying, so in that way, it's fairly solid. On April 24th, Tucker Carlson was fired from Fox News. It happened suddenly, especially surprising because this was the biggest news anchor on TV. Not even Tucker Carlson knows why Fox News dropped him. We could only theorize, with people stating he got too big for his own good, or that he made too many enemies in the workplace, criticizing Fox News leadership. Whatever it may be, Fox News primetime viewership slumped 20% after he was removed. To this day, we're still not sure what happened. Also, Don Lemon from CNN got fired as well on the same day for weird comments that he made stating that the Republican presidential candidate, Nikki Haley, was past her prime. Why did he say that? Dude, I have no idea. Nikki Haley is 51, that's like typical, if not a younger age to run for president. On April 25th, a Magic the Gathering YouTuber found Pinkerton agents at his front door. Yeah, I'm talking about the private detective agency from the 1800s. They cared so much that this one YouTuber got a set of Magic cards early before the street date release that they knocked on his door to recover the product. I didn't even know the Pinkertons still existed. They threatened to get the county sheriff involved if he did not give back the cards. This next one is pretty big. On the same day as the Pinkerton story, Joe Biden announced he was running for re-election, asking Democratic voters to give him one more chance in 2024. This has set up a possibility for Joe and Donald to have a rematch with each other, with Biden stating that the battle for the nation's soul isn't complete. Biden announced his campaign stating that he had to fight against Republican extremism and that he needs more time to restore the nation's soul. He would later state that what motivated him the most to run again was the fact that Trump was running again. With little enthusiasm about his re-election bid, most people really failed to care about his announcement. In historical news, Carol Dunham, the woman who accused 14-year-old Emmett Till of making improper advances towards her in 1955, died on April 28th. Her false allegation led to the brutal death and lynching of Emmett. This will be the thing that defies her legacy. Let us not forget what horrors she contributed. In more terrible news, on April 28th, right-wing conservative talk show host Steven Crowder was revealed in video to verbally abuse his wife. He tells his wife to watch it and berates her for minutes on end. his friends and family would tell reporters that this is what the real Steven is like. In less heavy news, the James Corden show ended in 2023, with everyone in the world breathing a sigh of relief that they no longer had to watch the unfunniest talk show host known to man anymore. By the end of April, Sam Hyde and Jet Neptune launched their show, Fish Tank, which had contestants live inside a house that streamed its rooms 24/7 for 6 weeks, bringing on crazy people to interact with each other. I didn't really watch this, but I heard it was really entertaining. At the end of April, Dream made a big-ass Twitter thread going after his former colleague, Quackity, about basically nothing. It was over Quackity not responding to Dream's Discord DMs. It was actually kind of funny. The White House had its annual correspondence dinner, where Joe Biden did stand-up for a couple minutes, and also embraced the Dark Brandon meme at its fullest.
I'm going to be fine with your jokes, but I'm not sure about Dark Brandon.
What a way to end off April. At the beginning of May, the Writers Guild of America, representing screenwriters on television and for films, went on strike to protest for better contracts, increased compensation, and stronger job security. They wished to increase the size of writers' rooms and limit the use of AI in writing. The following strike would continue for months, with many famous stars siding with the writers. During this time, talk show hosts were unable to release new episodes, among red carpet premieres dying down, as well in support for the strikers. On the verge of this, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 came out on May 5th, bringing on a stellar end to the trilogy. I thought it was one of the most mature Marvel movies in a long time. Rocket's story is really gut-wrenching, but not only that, the writing felt so natural. James Gunn really outdid himself with this one. The perfect wrap-up to a franchise I really don't think will be the same without James Gunn. Oh, and the soundtrack was great as well. I still like Volume 2's soundtrack a little more, but this was seriously great. One of the few W's Marvel had this year, as well as Disney. In much bigger news, on May 5th, the World Health Organization announced that the COVID-19 pandemic was officially over. And just like that, 3 years of a virus that took the lives of millions upon millions of people, filled with plenty of political debate about mask mandates, vaccines, among plenty of quarantines, was done. We had learned to live with the virus, and here we were at the end of everything. On May 6th, King Charles III held his coronation. I'm American, so I didn't watch this, but hey, good for the Brits, right? On May 9th, Trump was found liable by a jury, determining that he sexually abused Jean Carroll in 1996, with the judge demanding Trump to pay $5 million to her. He would later call the verdict a disgrace and affirmed that he was innocent, stating that New York City would never give him a fair trial. On May 10th, MTV News shut down after Paramount slashed its workforce. Let me stress, they didn't shut down MTV, but instead the MTV News Network that would keep up with the hottest news stories in the music world for 36 years. With the internet nowadays, I get why this became obsolete. On May 11th, a video was posted from the show The Good Doctor that has one of the main characters screaming that he was a surgeon. I guess it was kind of funny.
I am a surgeon! I am a surgeon! I am a surgeon!
On May 12th, the long-awaited Zelda game, Tears of the Kingdom, released to critical acclaim, and if you've been watching these year in reviews for long enough, you would know my favorite catchphrase to say when it comes to covering video games is, I haven't played it. I heard it was good, but honestly, I played the first game, Breath of the Wild, and it just wasn't for me. I mean, I love older Zelda titles, Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker are some of my favorite games, but I just couldn't get to how open world this game was. Once again, it just isn't my cup of tea, but for those who love this type of gameplay, by all means, I'm glad it got such amazing reviews. CNN held a town hall in May that questioned whether or not Trump was willing to concede the 2020 election. Yeah, he didn't. Who would have thought? By May, this TikTok meme had run its course, but I have to mention it anyways. One where Nicolas Cage looks at Pedro Pascal in pure disappointment and anger, and Pedro Pascal looks back in pure joy. By May, Elon Musk stated that he would step down from Twitter after choosing a new person to take the job. Guess what? He didn't step down. Never worry though, because on May 14th, the greatest event of our lifetime occurred. Wings of Redemption versus Boogie 2988. For context, both of these guys have had hilarious careers that at times have been pretty rough to watch. One rage quits at Call of Duty, while the other one rage quits at trying to find a woman his own age. This all led to the fight of the century, that my friend Evan and I bet $100 on. I bet that Wings would win, while he bet that Boogie would win. Yeah, he lost, and I won $100. We are so back. Thank you so much, Wings of Redemption, for at least being moderately competent at the fight. You really had my back, dude. In Florida, a teacher got investigated for playing the Disney film Strange World, and where there happens to be a couple LGBT themes present. That's it. The teacher did nothing wrong, or anything else. After the story went national, 50 teachers in protest resigned due to the outrageous investigation. For a brief period, Seth MacFarlane quit Family Guy in support of the writer's strike, it was a very dark world when we didn't have Seth running the show. I have no idea how we survived. In sadder news, Hank Green, a YouTuber who helped create VidCon and the iconic Crash Course series, was diagnosed with cancer. Many fans and friends poured out their support in getting Hank to fight this, including even President Joe Biden. Recently, he's announced that he's in complete remission, and Hank, you got this. Fight hard. Remember when I said I wasn't finished covering iDubbbz? Well, here we are. After Creator Clash, he was met with much ridicule, ranging from his wife to his new look, with many of his fiercest critics referring to him as a Curtis Connor lookalike. iDubbbz announced in a bombshell video that he didn't stand by his old content cops anymore, or a lot of the language he used during those past videos. He then proceeded to unlist his old content cops and put them in a playlist. This move was widely controversial, with critics pointing out that many of the people iDubbbz went after deserved their content cops and didn't need to be apologized to. This was not the last we saw from him in 2023. So Clone High returned after 20 years of being off the air, and the new season was absolutely okay. Some people hate it, especially the first episode, but I think it was fine. That being said, it was a big downgrade than what came before. The humor is kind of awkward at points, no Gandhi makes it kind of empty, and also the pilot episode was really not good. Season 3, dear God, you have to steer this ship in the right direction, or it may be over for this show yet again. On May 24th, Tina Turner, the queen of rock and roll, died at 83. Her legacy was legendary, she will be missed. On May 24th, Ron DeSantis officially announced his candidacy for president, launching his campaign on Twitter. And my God, was it a disaster. So DeSantis announced his candidacy on Twitter Spaces, with Elon Musk set to introduce him and ask him questions. Problem was, the entire call was a glitched, crazy mess that kept crashing, lagging, and for the first 20 minutes, all people could hear was feedback, while Elon Musk kept trying to figure out how to fix it.
His commitment to freedom and his willingness to put his money where his mouth is, upset the narrative control imposed on us by our government.
Trump would go on to Truth to shit on both Musk and Ron on a disastrous launch. The trend of Ron being a losing candidate would start right here. The optics were not in his favor. To put a pin into May, the show Ted Lasso, Barry, and Succession came to an end. I was a pretty big Barry fan, and felt satisfied with the show's ending. While Ted Lasso and Succession I missed, I'm really going to miss Barry, but all good things have to come to an end, such as with the month of May, onto the summer. In June, the debt ceiling was lifted, averting America's first ever default, which would have led the United States into uncharted economic territory. If it had defaulted, we would have entered an economic crisis, the likes of which we had never seen before. Good thing it was just a little footnote of 2023 then, right? To celebrate, Biden tripped down a ramp during a graduation ceremony. In June, I drove up from Southern California to San Francisco. While there, I realized that there were a bunch of pride flags everywhere. Oh wait, it was because it was Pride Month. Here's me in front of pride flags. San Francisco was also pretty cool. The Golden Gate was big, and I even slow jacked in front of it. Classic me. I hung out with a really good friend. Pier 39 was freaking sick. The food there was great. Traversing the city seemed almost endless. I also went to the Walt Disney Museum there and saw creepy old Mickey Mouse toys. And also while there, I saw the new Spider-Man movie. Across the Spider-Verse is so good. Take everything from the first movie and up the ante. Spider-Man is my favorite superhero, as was the case with basically everyone else, and the soundtrack to the film was iconic. This was the best animated film to come out this year, and it deserved to do extremely well at the box office. Oh, and the animation. Oh my god. Seriously, it's revolutionary and filled with surprises. I can't wait for the third part to come out in who knows how long. On June 8th, New York City was covered in orange skies due to the Quebec wildfires. Of course, this led to obligatory people saying this looked like Blade Runner 2049. Mike Pence and Chris Christie announced they were running for president this month, and no one cared. But hey, at least the guy who played James Pesto in Bob's Burgers got charged this month for being part of the January 6th insurrection. Dude, holy shit. In June, Trump was indicted yet again, but this time over holding classified documents to which Trump pleaded his innocence, and was arraigned in Miami. Republican opponents, running for the primary, took this as a chance to criticize Trump, but it didn't change anyone's mind. The lead singer of the band, the 1975, Matt Healy, had a brief relationship with Taylor Swift. It was made brief following controversy surrounding Healy, who was on the Adam Friedland Show, mocking Ice Spice, and also for telling a story of how he pleasured himself to a brutalized woman. Taylor would break it off with Healy, viewing the relationship as more of a rebound and something she did for fun. In a marketing tactic, Dream put the mask back on, stating that ever since his face revealed, his numbers dropped. He would later go on to state that this was all a joke, and that he didn't think people people would take it so seriously. On June 10th, the Unabomber, also known as Ted Kaczynski, unalived himself while in prison. One of the most famous criminals ever, he sent bombs to those he believed were advancing technology, which he viewed as an evil against the natural wilderness. A killer and also a mathematician prodigy who rejected his academics in order to live a primitive lifestyle, his legacy is too extensive and complex to get into here. He will always remain controversial. Around the same time, Grimace from McDonald's was celebrating his birthday. In tribute, McDonald's released a sweet video of the young Grimace growing up. Aw, how sweet. So I tried out the Grimace shake, it was pretty good, and then I checked TikTok, and then watched as hundreds upon hundreds of people fell victim to the Grimace shake. A lot of these videos depicted the shake as something that would kill you, disfiguring your body, and it was all due to the evil of Grimace. We got some of the most creative TikToks ever from this trend, and guys, all Grimace wanted to do was celebrate his birthday, and we ruined it for him. I'm kinda proud of us, if I'm being honest. On June 16th, Pixar's showing for the year, Elemental, came out, and it did pretty bad at first. This is the 5th time this year I've talked about this movie. I really don't want to talk about it anymore. Basically, I thought it was fine, but nothing special. I think it represented where Disney was at in terms of film output this year, and how lackluster it was. Some people like Elemental way more than I did, and it did make a decent enough comeback at the box office as when it first dropped, it was a pretty big flop. Honestly, all I really cared about was Wade from the movie, so Wade heads, we stay winning. During June, Mr. Beast Burger came to an end. After a couple years of delivering below average burgers, Mr. Beast would later take legal action against the company that provided him the ingredients for the burgers, stating that the company did damage to his brand name. In retaliation, the same burger company would sue Mr. Beast, stating that he didn't meet his contractual obligations, and that he failed to support the burger company, and also caused irreversible damage to the burger company's name. The lawsuit is still ongoing, so we'll see what happens later. XQC, the biggest streamer on Twitch, signed a $100 million deal with the streaming site Kick. To put that in perspective, that's more money than how much LeBron James got for signing on with the LA Lakers. Seriously insane. In June, Disney released a teaser to their upcoming cartoon, Primos. The language used in the intro theme received controversy as it wasn't the authentic dialect of Spanish. I'm a son of parents who came from Mexico, and I noticed it right away. I wasn't really offended, I just found it funny how they got it so wrong. The creator of the show would face off against critics, but really I don't care too much to get into it, because in June, this tiny submarine went missing trying to explore the Titanic. Okay, so get this. There's this company named OceanGate, and a guy with a dream of taking a bunch of millionaires and billionaires into the depths of the Atlantic to explore the Titanic. He controls the submarine with a gaming controller, and his submarine is honestly poorly made. He ignores many warning signs of danger, and once it is discovered that people can't locate the submarine or no longer make contact with it, people begin to think, did they die? Throughout all of June and into July, a trend starts making waves on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, you name it. Joke after joke is made at the expenses of those on the submarine. You can't escape it. Even those who don't want to laugh at the horrible situation can't help themselves. They laugh because it's just such a bizarre situation. And also because people are laughing at millionaires. To the many who aren't millionaires, they ask themselves, why should I feel bad for these guys? People make jokes about how much air there is left within the submarine, or if it exploded, or if they're down there hanging out with Leonardo DiCaprio. We don't honestly know until one day, at the brink of July, the debris of the submarine are found. The men who were in that machine all perished to the pressures of the ocean. That, my dear friends, was the story of the summer. Okay, but The Weeknd made a show called The Idol and it was really bad. He's just not a good actor. He tries to be both sexy and intimidating, but it just comes off as sloppy and extremely awkward. Really one of the funniest shows to hate watch.
It's a hit, yeah.
Really?
I can see why the label wants to put it out.
In June, the YouTube channel Smosh made a deal with Red and Link to buy back the rights for the channel. It was awesome. Now Ian and Anthony are back to making skits and creating podcasts together. In fact, I even met Ian this past VidCon, and he was super nice. Oh yeah, that's right. VidCon 2023 took place between June 21st to June 23rd, and I had a great time hanging out with some of my closest friends. Me and my friend Josh walked around the hall. Me and CircleTunes HT got kinda sloppy drunk. I did some epic karaoke. Oh, and throughout it all, I went to Universal Studios to check out Super Nintendo World. Super Nintendo World is really cool. Going into the pipe for the first time was amazing, and the queue for the Mario ride was such eye candy. As for the Mario Kart ride itself, it wasn't too great, but me and my buddy Bernie Vids did chill out at Hogwarts after it was all done. And there we were, overlooking the view of LA, and it was a really beautiful moment. Bernie and I have been friends since 2015, and we're both creators, so to know that we've made it this far into our careers is super meaningful to me. Seriously, the entirety of VidCon was amazing, but the convention itself kind of sucked though. What sucked more was 2Mad's major breakdown. So 2Mad dealt with an allegation of assaulting a girl, and he had a full-on meltdown on Twitter. Dude wasn't able to shut up, and still isn't able to shut up. He's crazy and really needs to get some help. But also he needs to face repercussions over a crime that, let's be honest, he probably did commit due to all the evidence surrounding it. Russia dealt with a military coup this year. Let's talk about how crazy that was. So a military group known as the Wagner Group staged a rebellion against Russia following tensions between the main government and the military over the fumbling war in Ukraine. Putin was able to put down the rebellion, with the leader of the rebellion being killed 2 months later in a quote-unquote plane crash. Okay, Putin probably killed the dude. Colleen. By the end of June, mounting allegations of Colleen Bollinger, you know, the Miranda Sings chick, in which she inappropriately messaged multiple fans, were revealed. One accuser stated Colleen tried to date him when he was 13 years old, saying that she sent him her underwear. She defended herself by stating she always sent out weird things to her fans. Dude, what in your right mind would make you think sending underwear to a 13-year-old would be a great idea? Another fan felt uncomfortable when she was invited on stage with Colleen to do a yoga move, and when Colleen told the fan to open her legs, of course the fan didn't want to. It's just a weird thing to ask. This all culminated on June 28th, 2023, when Colleen released a video addressing all the allegations, but while she was playing her ukulele and singing. Oh my goodness. In terms of YouTuber apologies, this will go down as, if not, the most iconic one ever made. It's been 6 months, and I still can't believe this is real. She admitted she would overshare details of her life that were not okay to share, but also stated she was misunderstood. Yeah, how about you just took the advice of your lawyers and, you know, just didn't say anything? Fall Out Boy dropped a We Didn't Start the Fire song update over Billy Joel's version, with recent events being covered. They rhymed George Floyd with Metroid, that's all you really need to know. At the end of June, the Supreme Court banned affirmative action, which was something colleges did in order to try and diversify their campuses. But the Supreme Court also stopped Joe Biden's student loan forgiveness initiative. Joe would later turn to executive orders to get around the Supreme Court and to forgive student loans. The summer blockbuster season was in full swing, and we had flop after flop. The new Indiana Jones? A flop. That weird DreamWorks movie? A flop. It's just no one cared what was coming out because movies looked so boring and without any substance. But I've talked about this frequently this year. June was great. Really, it was. I had a video that hit over 1.5 million views. Not only that, but I also got to meet so many creators I would have freaked out to meet when I was younger. However, when it came to my output on my channel, I was confused on what to release. It was stressing me out. Should I talk about movies or lost media, or should I go back to politics? I realized what was wrong. I had no idea what I wanted to make. I felt like I was fumbling what I believed to be a dream come true last year, and it was all going away right in front of my eyes. I would deal with this creative crisis well within the next few months. At the beginning of July, Twitter rate limited the amount of tweets you could see per day, and the move was deeply unpopular. Cocaine was found to be at the White House though, so that was pretty wild. Americans would guess that it was Hunter Biden's due to his past drug-ridden escapades. Instagram released a new app called Threads that was said to be the competitor against Twitter. Everyone used it for a full week, and everyone forgot about it. Elon Musk tried to sue the app for using a similar interface to that of Twitter, but in reality, it didn't matter because everyone just went back to Twitter anyways. Adam22. Famous for his No Jumper podcast, and for being an adult actor, he dealt with his own weird adventure. He kept hyping up his wife having sex with another man, and the internet tore him to shreds. He rejoiced in the hate, and kept promoting the video that would come out afterwards. What a guy. On July 3rd, iDubbbz revealed that Creator Clash 2 lost a lot of money, so much so that he couldn't pay the promised total of $250,000 to the charities he promised to donate to with the money from the event. He live streamed trying to make the money back, and actually got a good amount to donate with. However, as for the third Creator Clash, who knows if we'll even get another one. Taylor Swift re-released her record Speak Now, and dude, the song Better Than Revenge is the best thing off that album. I wish you could make songs like that one more often. What With that being said, an old song of hers known as Cruel Summer trended again this month. A catchy tune, and it was cool to see it trend years later. Leaked Jonah Hill DMs displayed what he wanted his girlfriend to do when it came to his boundaries. The boundaries were pretty excessive given the fact he was trying to date a model who loved surfing. Like, Jonah, what did you expect? Larry Nassar, a pervert and convicted child molester who terrorized the US women's gymnastics team, got stabbed 10 times while in prison. There's nothing else for me to say here. Various Hollywood actors joined in with the writers to continue the strike against major movie and TV show companies, so that was cool. And during the midst of it all, something named Skibbity Toilet was continuously rising to dominance. Skibbity Toilet is a Gary's Mod created character / show where the Skibbity Toilet goes around singing while fighting a war with these TV heads. There's a huge lore surrounding Skibbity Toilet, enough lore for 10-year-olds to obsess over, and enough lore for this to be one of the most culturally relevant things to receive prominence this year. It's kind of badass, not gonna lie. In mid-July, I did something stupid and went back to Florida to do Disney World again with my friends Rose, Max, and Bella. Bella was a real one and got me into all 4 parks for free and got us half off our hotel. It was fun. We also ate at this space restaurant called Space 220, we had a couple drinks, and some expensive food. The atmosphere at Space 220 at Epcot was so cool. They put you on an elevator that makes you think you're going to space, and the way they really try to convince you is unlike anything I've ever experienced. What wasn't incredible was me losing my sunglasses while riding the ride Mission Space. I was severely depressed after losing those. Ladies and gentlemen, July 21st, Barbenheimer. Barbenheimer was the dual release of both the films Barbie and Oppenheimer, movies that basically saved the summer box office. Barbie, which had the leads of Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling, was a great movie about gender, but not only that, a fantastic and colorful comedy. Ryan Gosling was my favorite part of the movie. I really like the song I'm Just Ken, and the musical number is just so good. Dance the Night was a hit song that stemmed from this movie. I heard it used so many times on TikTok, and when I was out and about during this summer. Billie Eilish made a song for the movie as well, a touching ballad asking the merits and stresses of what a woman is pressured to be. When this movie came out, I saw a giant uptake of the color pink being worn across malls everywhere. I cannot underestimate how huge this release was. Hell, Barbie ended up becoming the 14th top grossing film of all time. Its cultural significance will be felt for a long time. As for Oppenheimer, the film is about the creator of the atomic weapon used against the Japanese during World War II. A 3-hour movie, it's intense, but also incredibly philosophical. I dressed up in a suit to watch this movie and I loved it. The soundtrack is also great, and I would argue Barbenheimer was the biggest meme of the year. People were hyping up both these movies, which had little to do with each other, but are connected just because they released on the same day. What a fun and massive trend. Oh, and Pikmin 4 came out the same day as well. A game I've waited an entire decade for. It looked incredible, but guess what? I haven't played it. I know, I'm mad at myself. I really just need to find the time to play it because this is ridiculous. Elon Musk rebranded Twitter into a new name, now calling it X. Why, you may ask? Dude, I don't know. There was a lady on an airplane causing a scene, saying that there was someone on the plane who wasn't real. Who knows what she was seeing? There have been many jokes and conspiracy theories made of what she did see, but I just think she was having a weird episode.
But I am telling you right now, that mother back there is not real. And you can sit on this plane and you can die with them or not. I'm not going to.
Ron DeSantis was in a car crash. He was fine, but his campaign wasn't. Trump kept shitting on DeSantis even after his Manhattan court date was scheduled for next year. Speaking of Manhattan, a crane collapsed in the city, causing 12 injuries. It was on fire and everything. Thank God no one died. Mitch McConnell, however, may be on the brink of death because at some point during a conference, he stopped mid-speech with his brain essentially shutting down. My goodness, this guy is 81 years old, he clearly does not look capable of being in a political office, let alone being the Senate Minority Leader. Super Mega. How can I make something like this as brief as possible? Well, on July 27th, Lex Updog, a friend of Super Mega, came out with her assault story. The main channel artist for Super Mega, Dawn, assaulted Lex. She would later make allegations that Super Mega tried to hide her assault. Not only that, she went after Matt and Ryan for being cheaters, as individuals who didn't care about the death of their late friend Daniel, and as racist and bigoted people. To jump on this, a YouTuber by the name of Nick Is Not Green tried to go after Super Mega, as well as a former employee of the channel, Layton. Matt and Ryan of Super Mega would push back on this and state they were told to not make the assault public, alongside pulling receipts showing the situation was much more nuanced than what Lex had originally established. The receipts also showed that they were not as terrible as what these people were saying. After Super Mega's pushback, Nick is Not Green was faced with fierce criticism, as well as Lex and Layton. My friends Tom and Bernie made a great video about it that I would highly recommend you guys to watch, for this situation is too complex to discuss in just one segment. In the aftermath, Super Mega had essentially come to an end. Travis Scott, who came back years after his terrible Astroworld event in which multiple people died, came back with a new record on July 28th titled Utopia. I listened to a couple tracks, nothing really stood out to me from it like Sicko Mode. It was okay. On July 30th, 2023, Paul Rubens, famous for his role as Pee Wee Herman, passed away. He will be missed.
Lizzo breaking her silence over accusations of sexual harassment in a hostile work environment.
Early August dealt with more allegations. Musical artist Lizzo was accused of pushing her dancers to uncomfortable situations and also of mocking and bullying her crew, calling them useless and dumb. Lizzo has pushed back against these allegations. Ron DeSantis continued to gaffe by holding a beer uncomfortably, continuing to laugh weird, and also asking a kid about an icy having too much sugar.
An icy? Yeah, that's probably a lot of sugar, huh?
A.K.A. came out, which is a weird robot that tries to teach kids how to socialize and to develop emotional skills. I hate to sound boomer, but how about putting your kids with real kids instead? Luffy from One Piece became a cartoon in an episode, and millions, including my brother, freaked out at this. So I had to mention it. Kai Cenat, a big streamer, was arrested after sending a large crowd of people to a park with the promise that he would give everyone free PS5s, leading the crowd to become chaotic. He was charged with first-degree rioting and for inciting a riot. To make matters worse, he didn't even have any PS5s. It was all just a prank. It's so over. Leafy is here, a 2016 YouTube has-been, posted a photo of himself on Twitter, to which many in the replies noted how much weight he gained. It was kind of funny because this guy's a dick, so he kind of deserved it. Little Tay apparently died this month, but actually not really because it was a marketing ploy to try and get people to give a shit about her again and her music. Who cares, dude? From the period of August 8th to August 11th, Hawaii was on fire, leading to the deaths of over 100 and damages up to $5.5 billion. It was a major disaster that brought so much pain to the state. My heart goes out to the people of Hawaii. Johnny Hardwick, the voice actor for Dale Gribble, passed away on August 8th. Dale was my favorite character on Kid of the Hill, so this news really bummed me out. Rest in peace, sir. In Washington, D.C., Trump was indicted yet again, but this time over federal charges reeling from the January 6th insurrection. Once again, he said he did everything right, but they indicted him. Oliver Anthony got famous over pro-conservative songs going against the establishment. His song, Rich Men North of Richmond, blew up and debuted #1 on the Hot Billboard 100. I could not bring myself to care much about this saga. However, people did care when on August 17th, famous streamer I Showed Speed found himself accidentally exposing his private parts while thrusting at the side of a Five Nights at Freddy's animatronic. Dude. The song Planet of the Bass came out, poking fun at early 2000s electro music videos that all sounded the same. Funny enough, a lot of people who were into this music back then actually said this song sounded good as well, like unironically. From August 16th to August 21st, Hurricane Hilary made landfall over Mexico, and interestingly enough, the southwestern United States. We never get hurricanes over here. So it was crazy when it morphed into a tropical storm by the time it hit Southern California. Some people tried to hype it up as it becoming terrible over here, but really Mexico got the worst of it. In mid-August, Charles Martinet announced he would no longer be the voice of Mario. Sad to see him go, but he still works for Nintendo. Thanks for the memories as Mario though, Charles. To hype up the boxing match between Logan Paul and Dylan Dennis decided to dig up old photos of Logan's wife with other men, heating up the tensions prior to the match. People paid more attention to the fight, but at the end of the day, Dylan got his ass beat, and really that's all that matters. On August 23rd, a shooting occurred at the historic bar and restaurant Cook's Corner in Tribuco Canyon, California. I've actually eaten here a couple times before, so this news came as a shock. The shooter was killed at the scene, with his primary target being his ex-wife. Really terrible news. The first Republican debate took place, but Donald Trump didn't even show up as he was doing an interview with Tucker Carlson. So there was a bunch of Republican candidates fighting to maybe be president, probably not, and the most interesting person of note was a millionaire by the name of Vivek Ramaswamy, who took center stage, trying to attack the establishment and other contenders while also remaining soft-spoken about Trump, likely in an attempt to try and get on Trump's cabinet.
Let us be honest as Republicans. I'm the only person on the stage who isn't bought and paid for, so I can say this. The climate change agenda is a hoax.
Hold on. I've had enough.
Vivek made such a grand impact on the debate that he saw a small improvement in his poll numbers. He would show up to his speeches, entering with an Eminem song playing in the background, only for Eminem to demand that Vivek stop using his songs. Fiona and Cake came out, I saw some clips, and it looks really good. Glad it's doing super well. On August 24th, I celebrated my 24th birthday, and I rented a yacht to celebrate. All my friends, including fellow YouTuber CZ World, showed up to party. While we were partying on the boat, I was notified by a friend that Donald Trump's mugshot was released. Donald Trump was indicted for the 4th time in the state of Georgia over his attempt to racketeer and change the results of the state's 2020 presidential election. As we know, he wasn't successful, leading him to surrender to the authorities and take a mugshot image that quickly became one of the most iconic images of the 2020s. Just look at how he looks. He must have practiced this so many times. After he took this photo, he went to X, formerly known as Twitter, and posted for the first time in over 2.5 years. Of course, it had to be this image. The mugshot has been used in memes and merchandise between both sides of the political aisle, an image that will be in the history books long after Donald Trump is gone. The first mugshot of a commander-in-chief ever. Seriously, this will be one of the most important images of this entire decade. On August 26th, a shooting occurred in Jacksonville, Florida, killing 3 people. It was racially motivated, and once again, the same song and dance occurred after the terrible event. The same day, Bob Barker, the incredible host of The Price is Right, died at 99. A man who lived an amazing life. He will be missed. There was a kid in Colorado who went back to school wearing a patch of the Gadsden flag, to which he got in trouble for. Teachers demanded him to remove it, and he felt targeted. I'm just more surprised a 12-year-old kid knew what the Gadsden flag even was. Kanye showed his ass in Italy. That's it. That's a segment. Mitch McConnell did his thing and froze up while talking to the press. Dude, what is this guy doing? Why do we even allow him to have so much power? August brought the summer to a close, carrying us into the fall, filled with its own highlights, but also its own dramas. By early September, Doja Cat had made waves with her new song Paint the Town Red, becoming one of the biggest hits of the year. Doja Cat herself, however, was getting some big hate from her fans, ranging from her being unfunny, but also her attitude to her listeners, telling her fans to get jobs for calling themselves her kittens. Which, calling yourself a kitten of a famous person is kind of weird, but Doja herself was weird as well when it was revealed she would frequent alt-right chat rooms. How bizarre. On September 1st, during Labor Day weekend, Jimmy Buffett died due to a rare cancer. I love Margaritaville, and I love it's 5 o'clock somewhere, so I really felt this one. Rest in peace, Jimmy. Jacksepticeye accused Mr. Beast of making his videos just for money, to which Mr. Beast argued with Jacksepticeye. They made up, and nothing else really happened. Remember when EDP tried to go after minors? Yep, he did it again. He was caught in 4K messaging a minor, and he was also caught again on video trying to meet up with a minor, only to be basically Chris Hansen'd by a guy wearing a cupcake. EDP needs to be prosecuted. Guys, I may have a problem. I went to 4 Weezer concerts this year. For 3 of them, I was super close to the stage. I could practically see Rivers Cuomo's molecules. Weezer had an amazing tour this year that covered both the obscure and the most notable of Weezer. They had Only in Dreams on their set, and seeing that live a couple times was absolutely chilling. Especially when he did it live in front of me. One of their greatest tours they've done in years. It was so cool. What wasn't cool was Burning Man 2023, which experienced harsh rain leading to the desert to be flooded with ankle-deep mud. People couldn't walk or even try to drive out of the event. A game called Starfield went viral, which simply asked you for your pronouns when you started playing the game, and a dude who does the most low-hanging fruit content of all time freaked out about it.
Sorry, did you want to get immersed in our world? Yeah, well, guess what? Fucking pronouns! Fuck your immersion! Fuck you having a good time! You take everything we love! All our immersions! All our fantasies!
Where's your shame, man? On September 4th, Steve Harwell, the lead singer of Smash Mouth, passed away. The first concert I ever went to was Smash Mouth, and it was such a kick-ass show. Rest in paradise, buddy. On September 8th, Olivia Rodrigo released her sophomore record, a project I consider on par with her first album. Its basic themes deal with entering young adulthood, and overall it's a solid record. I think Sour edges it out a little more, but the songs on this one are also really catchy. My favorite songs from the record are All American Bitch, Bad Idea, and Get 'Em Back. It's very angsty, and I dig it. The Great Diarrhea Plane incident occurred when a Delta plane had to turn around after a passenger dealt with extreme diarrhea. The length of all of it actually ran through a cabin aisle. It was that bad. A man claimed to have had sex with Obama back in 1999 with no proof whatsoever. He just said so. so why should we believe him? One Piece released their live-action show to great response. Usually live-action remakes suck, so this was a wonderful surprise. I haven't watched the full anime, but if this treats itself as a more abridged and easier way to access the show, by all means, I'm all aboard. Kevin McCarthy tried to appease the far right wing of his party by saying he was going to try and launch an impeachment inquiry against Joe Biden and look into Joe Biden's son, but as he would later find out in the next month, the dude would never be able to appease them. A trend on TikTok quoting Napoleon after his biggest failure, stating, "Well, there's nothing we can do," went viral, while a guy went to the Mexican government claiming that they had actual alien bodies. It even showed the bodies on the Mexican news, but as we were to find out, it was fake and manufactured. I guess if you wanted it to be real, you probably wouldn't have wanted to make the alien bodies look like stereotypical aliens you would find on TV or in movies, right? Hunter Biden was indicted on federal gun charges, with over 3 counts tied to possession on guns while on narcotics. Hey, rock and roll, man. Smurf Cat was viral. It's a hyper-realistic Smurf, and it's a cat, and all the 12-year-olds in the world went wild for this meme. Famed actor Russell Brand faced an allegation of assault and abuse dating back to the year 2010, with the cops probing him for evidence over the allegations. In fact, 4 women accused him of assault between 2006 to 2013. If this is all true, he needs to be locked away. So a congresswoman by the name of Lauren Boebert went on a date to go see the musical Beetlejuice. While there, she proceeded to vape, record the musical, and then fondle her date's genitals. It was weird, so security kicked her out. She proceeded to deny these claims, but video footage came out confirming that she did do all of this, with her response being that she didn't remember she did all that. Keep it classy, Lauren. Around the same time, Senator Fetterman faced criticism for wearing a sweater and shorts to the Senate chamber. His response was, "I figure if I take up vaping and grabbing the hog during a live musical, they'll make me a folk hero." Somehow a bear found itself at Disney World, leading to a section of the Magic Kingdom to be shut down. That's not Animal Kingdom, buddy. You're in the wrong park. On September 18th, an F-35 jet went missing. Somehow the military lost a $100 million jet, only for the debris to show up a couple days later. The full story lacked details for a little while, so I thought they actually just lost the jet as if it were a pair of car keys, but in reality a pilot who was testing in it had to eject from it, leading it to fall down and blow up. By mid-September, Skibidi Toilet found itself in controversy. The creator of the series was copyright-striking people who made videos with Skibidi Toilet in them, despite the fact he made the character in Gary's mod and uses a copyrighted song to make his character come to life, and also he doesn't do any of the music and models. It makes you wonder, why doesn't he just let his fans have fun with the characters? Donald Trump Jr. had his X account hacked just to target Logan Paul. It was kinda funny. Aiden Ross kept hyping up how he was going to talk to Kim Jong-un, eventually getting hundreds of thousands of people to join in on his stream, only for him to call in with an impersonator and having those hundreds of thousands vanish once they realized this was all bullshit. In September, a trendy question was asked to men worldwide. How often do men think about the Roman Empire? For me, it's probably like once a week. A picture of Kevin James looking silly from an old show of his went viral. It's really just the expression on his face that gives a funny, "did I do that?" attitude to it all. Taylor Swift took a liking to a guy on the Kansas Chiefs named Travis Kelce. This quickly became one of the most reported upon relationships in recent history. Whenever a Chiefs game would happen, Taylor was there. The camera would frequently point towards Taylor, making many Chief fans upset. I mean, good for them, but this entire reporting has led to even more people who aren't Taylor fans to grow a bigger resentment towards her due to how much they just don't want to hear about her. Listen, I love me some Taylor, but I understand those people's frustrations. Too much is too much. A new Saw movie came out, and apparently it was epic and based, but I don't know because I didn't watch it. My senator, Dianne Feinstein, died at the age of 90. 4 months prior, she needed help to understand what legislation she was voting for, and alongside her death, a new call for term limits and age limits to public office were made. It's insane how long she was in office for. The race to replace her will take place next year. A man in connection to Tupac's 1996 death was arrested. Hopefully some justice is finally served. The writer's strike concluded once a deal was finally met between Hollywood executives, with the strike ending up lasting 146 days. Good for the writers. September was packed, but a bit calmer compared to the past months. As we entered the final quarter of the year, things would pick up a little more. On October 1st, Jimmy Carter turned 99, our nation's longest-lived president. I believe he deserves our respect for being a genuinely decent human being. Okay, so this story involves me and my friend Josh meeting House Republican Matt Gaetz, the guy who ended up kicking out Kevin McCarthy. In late September, I traveled to North Carolina to meet up with my friend Josh. Our goal was to travel to South Carolina to visit the only Buc-ee's in the entire state. But here was a catch. We could only use a majority of off-roads, meaning we would have to traverse the South Carolina wilderness and swamps in his blue Jeep.
Josh, what happened, man? You couldn't wait to use the bathroom?
We would also get lost at random points in the middle of the wilderness, and it was not awesome, especially since we were extremely hungry.
We're doing this in the name of Buc-ee's, Josh.
This is all for Buc-ee's. This is all for that little
beaver, little beaver man.
Little beaver man. We're coming for you. We're gonna cave your skull in for making us do this.
Josh, it's only one day. How exhausted are you? This has been less than one day.
Hey, Reddit Task Force, what's up? Guys, here's a quick status update. I don't know where we are still, but we're figuring it out. It's just trees.
No civilization.
There's nothing. We will have driven like 400 miles today.
We've been going since 6 in the morning.
Classic 6 in the morning, classic wake up at 6 in the morning to drive 200 miles to the place where you want to drive another 200 miles. So that's what we're doing. And it's awesome. And I'm definitely not, I don't feel like my ass is about to fall off.
What we saw on this trip was pure beauty, even finding ourselves in front of waterfalls in the Blue Ridge of the Appalachian Mountains. Problem was, at random points, there were moments where we had to do some aggressive off-roading, and there was also a moment where a bunch of giant-ass bugs went inside Josh's Jeep and completely horrified him, in one of the worst moments of his entire life.
Maybe, I don't know.
Do you think they just like put the rocks in the trail just to like be funny?
Just like a bit? Yeah, probably, because it's actually hilarious. No, that sucks. This might be the worst thing ever, actually. What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? What the fuck was that?
What?
What the fuck was that? There's
What?
like this fucking bug. That was oh my god! Roll the fucking windows up! Roll the windows up! Roll the windows up! Roll the windows up! Roll the fucking windows up! Holy shit! What the dude, the bugs! Oh my god, I'm so happy that got out of the car. It had like a stinger.
Oh shit!
That freaked me out. That sucked. I'm never rolling my window down again. Oh my lord.
Along the way, we met up with friends such as my pal James, who's epic, and we made it to Clemson, which for some reason was a college town that was obsessed with its mascot. Seriously, the entire place was covered in tiger paws. We also went to a bar where there was a random drawing of someone who looked exactly like Dream on the wall. I'm not even kidding you, it was crazy. Holy shit. Then we made it to Charleston. Epic Charleston, and visited Fort Sumter, where the Confederacy had bombarded Union troops, leading to the start of the Civil War. We stayed at hotels, slowly making our way to the Buc-ee's, to which we succeeded in our goal. In fact, we finished so early that we decided to call up our friend Circletunes HD to hang out with him in Maryland. Prior to that, we drove all the way to Washington, D.C. to check out the Capitol once again. But while me and Josh were in the House of Representatives chamber, we noticed a Republican filling out a piece of paper. This Republican was part of the most right wing of the party, and his name was Matt Gaetz. Me and Josh waved at him, and he snorted at us, smiled, waved back, and walked out of the chamber. Josh and I thought that was funny, and then we left. An hour later, we saw on the internet that that very same congressman had filed a vote to try and remove the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, the next day. Of course, me, Josh, Circletunes, and our friend Jake had to travel to DC the next day to be in the building to watch Kevin McCarthy get ousted by Congress. He was the first Speaker of the House in the history of the United States to be removed. The next day, Josh and I went to Gettysburg, and we drove back to North Carolina so I could fly back home. The entire trip was all American, and a vlog will come out on Josh's YouTube channel at some point in the future. You, my dear friend, better be watching. Long story, right? Anyways, Doja Cat got into some controversy after she wore a shirt with Sam Hyde on it. She would take down the post of her wearing it and repost it, but this time with her face zoomed in with a caption of eye roll and emojis. This one's complicated. On October 7th, Hamas militants fired rockets at Israel, with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declaring that Israel was at war with Palestine. The reason for the attacks is a decades-long territorial dispute between Palestine and Israelis. The leaders of Palestine, Hamas, which has been known as a terrorist group, believe that Palestine should have territory from the River Jordan to the Mediterranean Sea, while Israel believes they should hold the land instead. In response, Israel has launched various rocket strikes against Palestine, killing thousands of innocent Palestinian civilians not involved in the conflict, while Hamas has fired attacks as well. However, in terms of the death count, 1,000 Israelis have died, while on the Gaza Strip, where a large population of the Palestinians live, over 20,000 have been killed. Thousands of innocents have been perishing in the past few months, with the entire conflict being too complex for one segment in a video. My heart goes out to the victims in this time of brutal conflict. Americans have been divided on which side to support, with older Americans supporting Israel and younger Americans overwhelmingly supporting Palestine, wishing for a ceasefire in the region. In fact, Palestinians in America stormed the US Capitol demanding for a ceasefire. Tensions have also grown in the United States. In fact, later in October, a man stabbed a 6-year-old Muslim boy in response to the conflict. This is just terrible all around. Only time will tell what happens. On October 9th, Robert Kennedy Jr., son of the famous Robert Kennedy who ran for president in 1968, announced an independent run for president, leaving the Democratic Party. Current polls show him taking a decent amount of Biden voters, and we'll see how this holds into 2024. Colorado tourists said they saw Bigfoot, releasing a video where they allegedly saw him, although they never zoom into Bigfoot, so it's probably fake. For months on end, the YouTuber Jax Films has been reacting to the YouTuber Sniper Wolf, whose entire channel is just reacting to TikToks. Jax Films would essentially criticize Sniper Wolf every day, leading to Sniper Wolf to take a rage against Jack to the next level, doxing him on social media and showing his house. To which he was met with a brutal response from the internet. Kanye West wanted to trademark the word use, like yan Jews. Yeah, okay. On October 14th, the annular solar eclipse took place and it looked freaking epic. Disney released a special for their 100th anniversary, which I very much enjoyed. A lot of references to older stuff, and it was just about the only good thing the animation department of the company has released this year. Digital Circus was big. It surpassed Hazbin Hotel in terms of most views of an independent animated pilot. It takes place in a virtual reality and is also an interesting idea that visually looks pretty good for an independent project. In trying to replace the Speaker of the House, Republicans went through multiple potential candidates. Biden was asking for funding to send to Ukraine and Israel. However, the funding could not be met, as in order for the bill to go through the House, there has to be a Speaker of the House. One of the Republicans who tried to win Speaker was Ohio Representative Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan would lose the vote on 3 separate ballots, being unable to convince the less hard-leaning conservatives for their votes. Mid-October was labeled as the big Jim Jordan failure. On October 19th, Biden gave a speech asking Congress for more aid to Israel and Ukraine. Around the same time, he also compared what was happening to Israel as 15 9/11s. What an insane measurement. All the while, most Americans have been polled to be unhappy about the economy, are living paycheck to paycheck, but also putting their frustrations against Biden as well. Biden's numbers would plummet even lower than Donald Trump's. I went to Vegas in mid-October to hang out with a couple friends right before TwitchCon, and also for When We Were Young 2. I didn't get to go to When We Were Young 2, but Blink-182 was headlining. They released a new album titled One More Time a couple weeks before, and it was okay. I keep saying that a lot. Their album One More Time is very nostalgia bait, and at times it feels too forced. Like when it comes to the song One More Time, it tried to allude to their song I Miss You by stating one of the most iconic lines at the end of that track, but it's so weird because after he sings that lyric, the song continues for another 30 seconds without anything else being said. He says, I miss you, followed by nothing, and it doesn't go anywhere. While in Vegas, I had the honor to see the recently opened Las Vegas Sphere. My god, it was huge. I think it's cool to look at, but I didn't watch a show there. U2 has been doing live concerts there, and I don't really care to watch U2, but let's say Weezer did a show there. Then I'd be singing a different tune. It was cool walking around the Vegas Strip. I did this expensive ass escape maze with my friend Ultrive and a couple streamers. And for it being my first escape maze kind of sucked. Alaskan Airlines had to seize control of someone who was super high, who while on the runway tried to crash the plane. Thankfully no one got hurt. On October 20th, Super Mario Bros. Wonder came out, and holy shit, it was good. Like, really good. I mean, I only played a couple hours of it, but it was good. Hey, at least I played some of it. The new Spider-Man game also came out, which I heard was also pretty good, but surprise, surprise, I didn't play it. So a Republican by the name of Tom Elmer tried to get the speakership, but Trump said he sucked, so he ate shit. And Republicans eventually rallied around a guy from Louisiana by the name of Mike Johnson to be Speaker of the House. He's super conservative and super religious, so much so that he blamed abortion for school shootings. He also said that Rome only fell only because it was too gay. He also downloaded software to prevent him and his son from looking at adult websites, and if he looks one up, it's notified to his son, who's able to keep his father accountable. Holy shit, this guy's funny. In the combination of Generation Alpha and Z memes, we got a song about Gyat, Riz, and Ohio. Riz took off as slang this year, and it basically means that you have charisma, while Gyat means goddamn. We're truly advancing towards higher forms of intelligence with our sheer slang.
Sticking out your gun for the Rizzler. You're so scared, buddy. You're so phantom tax. I just wanna be your Sigma.
Representative Jamal Bowman was charged for pulling the fire alarm in the middle of Congress the previous month to prevent a vote from going through. He has to pay a fine, and somehow he didn't think the Capitol, one of the most secure places in the country following the insurrection, wouldn't have video of this. In Maine, there was another shooting. Unfortunately, the same things that occurred in its aftermath happened. The Five Nights at Freddy's movie came out, and my dopamine levels reached max volumes when I saw MatPat on the screen. The movie itself was fine. I never was really super deep into FNAF, but I do really like how the Living Tombstones track made it into the credits. On the same day, Taylor Swift re-released her album 1989, which is funny because both FNAF and this record originally came out in 2014. They were both made for each other. A Category 5 hurricane hit Acapulco, Mexico. The entire city was devastated, but it's touching to know that the citizens of the city are rebuilding. I've been to Acapulco before, and it really is a beautiful area, and I imagine it's only going to come back even more beautiful. Trump's former vice president Mike Pence dropped out of the presidential race, and no one proceeded to care. Mr. Beast faced controversy once again over some random content creator who got mad that she wasn't featured more often in one of his videos despite placing third place in a contest. Okay, who cares? The world was shocked when on October 28th, Matthew Perry passed away. Famous for his role on Friends, he will be missed. Let's get into November. XQC reacted to the Palestine conflict, to which he put his face on the thumbnail, and people reacted to that harshly. To try and deflect, he just flashed his wealth at everyone, making the situation even worse for himself. The final Beatles song was released in 2023, and it was pretty good. After decades of trying to figure out the song, the Beatles had succeeded, with John Lennon's vocals being as good as ever. Netanyahu rejected pleas for a ceasefire during the Palestine conflict, so he sucks. On November 7th, Virginia held an election in which Democrats fared pretty well. The results were seen as surprising, as they marked 1 year before the 2024 presidential election. I think these results tell that the Democratic policies are actually more popular, but that doesn't mean this makes President Joe Biden any more popular. It is possible we may get a Democratic Congress and a Republican president by this time a year from now. A Zelda live-action film was announced, but I'm thinking it may end up sucking. In November, Tumblr had to downsize, because put it simply, the website is dying. What was once a top website for sharing art, it is now a shelf itself, just waiting to collapse. Omegle shut down. No more having to look at a random stranger's genitals on a campsite. On November 10th, a US lawyer shot 2 environmental protesters while in Panama, who were blocking the road. That's pretty excessive. Mr. Beast dealt with drama again after he uploaded a video putting 100 wells in Africa. A portion of X grew upset because they viewed this as Mr. Beast exploiting Africans. It really is hard to make people happy, even if you're just doing a good deed. West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin called it quits and said he wasn't running for re-election for the Senate next year, which led to whispers of him potentially conducting a third-party run against Biden and Trump. A documentary about Boogie 2988 released about him losing his money to sex workers, among other poor financial decisions. It's a very depressing documentary, and I wouldn't recommend watching it if you're already having a bad day. The YouTuber The Completionist was investigated to find that he didn't donate money he made from past live streams to charities like he said he was going to. He tried to defend himself with a video that came out later, stating that he was negligent, but was going to donate the money. Many people haven't bought the defense, and his reputation is in tatters. So after Biden had a big diplomacy week with the leader of China, Xi Jinping, he would later state that the leader was a dictator. But the moment he said this, his Secretary of State was seen wallowing in pain after all the work he had just done to bring China and US relations closer. Snoop Dogg said he was giving up on weed, but it was all a joke to try and sell some random product. The YouTuber Dream had reached the climax of his year. After many allegations stating he was a groomer, he went to Twitter to have a complete meltdown. Problem is, the guy doesn't know when to shut up, so he continued to tweet and tweet only for people to hate on him even more. He released a video of the voice of Gumball, Nicholas Cantu, completely unleashing on Dream and calling him the F-slur. You would think people would be on Dream's side after this video, but people hated Dream so much they chose to side with Gumball, who Dream allegedly got punched by. Well, the story wasn't done yet, as it would conclude next month. The Scott Pilgrim anime came out, and I heard it was goated, but I have not had the time to watch it. Same with Invincible Season 2. I love Season 1, but I still haven't had time to watch the second season. I'll get around to it. Maybe that's all because I've been playing Fortnite a lot, and they did release Fortnite Classic for a period in November. That was pretty cool. And they also released Peter Griffin in Fortnite as well, which was also freaking sweet. On November 19th, Rosalind Carter, Jimmy Carter's wife, passed away. She had a moving funeral. Former President Jimmy Carter went out of hospice to say farewell to his lifelong partner, wishing the Carters nothing but the absolute best. Argentina elected a new president on the 19th, Javier Milei, who made waves in South America due to his right-wing populism. His rhetoric has been sharp, and he has some wacky sideburns. In fact, in South America, politics has been crazy this year. Chile voted on a referendum to restructure their constitution, and in January, Brazil had a congressional attack led by supporters of the then president, Jair Bolsonaro. The president promoted election fraud allegations and was trying to incite a coup. The riots were suspended, but it's still crazy with what's been going on in foreign countries this year. In 2023, an edit from 2014 of Josh Hutcherson went viral. It was awesome. Melissa Barrera, a lead for the movie Scream, was fired from set after she showed support for Palestine. Not only that, but the other lead, Jenna Ortega, left as well. Yeah, the Scream movies are basically dead now. On November 23rd, a speeding car at the Canadian-US border was speeding so fast, it exploded and burst into flames, leading people to believe it was a terrorist attack at first, but it was really just a driver just sucking at driving. The Disney movie Wish came out, and it was pretty bad. No one liked it or even cared to see it. So much for Disney's 100-year anniversary, huh? Oh well. Adam Sandler's animated film Leo also came out, and at least that did super well. Leo isn't even that good. It's just more imaginative than whatever Disney put out. Adam Sandler wins and Disney loses. During the Macy's Thanksgiving parade, a Palestinian protest broke out, while Grimace was in the background staring at what was going on and not knowing what to do. Josh Giddey, a player for the basketball team Oklahoma City Thunder, was accused of having improper relations with an underage girl. There were photos of him with the girl, and a lot of evidence behind this, so the NBA has been investigating, but it doesn't look too good for Giddey. Derek Chauvin, the cop who killed George Floyd, was stabbed while in prison. Karma's a bitch, huh? So the new Napoleon movie came out, and I heard mixed things. People either hate it or love it. Some people treat it as a comedy, while others treat it as one unimaginative hit piece on Napoleon. Either way, I skipped out on it. The Marvels did come out, however, and it turned out to be the lowest grossing MCU movie of all time. People are losing interest in Marvel. David Tennant returned as the Doctor for Doctor Who's 60th anniversary celebration on November 23rd. His return was also met with controversy due to the special's writing. I do love me some David Tennant though, and although I haven't watched Doctor Who since I was a freshman in high school, it was cool to see him back for a moment. Pandas left the US in November to go back to China. I had the opportunity to see them one last time at a zoo in Washington, D.C., but by the time me and Josh got to the zoo, it was 3 p.m. Although the zoo closed at 5 p.m., the security guard in front of it didn't want to let us in, and as the guy turned us away, he laughed at us. Like I sucked. A guy got high and naked on It's a Small World at Disneyland. That guy was kind of funny. I guess I can use this part of the video to talk about the parks. So I have a Disneyland annual pass, and it's awesome. I have the top pass as I visit often, but I guess not often enough to not be there the same day the Disney Fantasia Dragon burned down at the park. Jesus Christ. That's metal. While here, I'll talk about an attraction that opened up in Disneyland this year, known as Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. With its catchy tune and seriously impressive ride layout, it has become one of my favorite rides ever. I also really like the new reimagined Toontown. They did a stellar job with it. Also in 2023, they opened up San Francisco at Disney's California Adventure, which was also super cool. There's no ride to coincide with it, but the food there was great. A song in which Woody turned evil and killed all the toys from Toy Story went viral. That shit was awesome. Panera Lemonade went viral for being incredibly caffeinated, so much so that it has killed 2 people. As someone who drinks a lot of caffeine and has drank it nearly every day this year, I may have to try this out. However, if you don't hear from me anymore, then you'll just have to assume the worst. Spotify Wrapped came out and Weezer topped my list. I was afraid Dream would be on here because me and my friend Josh listened to him so much ironically while on our road trip, so thank God it didn't happen. Also, Dream dropped an album this year. It sucked. On November 29th, controversial former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger died, credited with expanding the Vietnam War into Cambodia and helping to conduct multiple US operations of overthrowing leaders and replacing them with dictators. His legacy will forever be contested. Dude lived to 100. And wow, on the same day, Eminem came out on Fortnite. I don't know which one was more important. On November 30th, my governor, Democrat Gavin Newsom, challenged Ron DeSantis in a debate. Politics aside, DeSantis simply does not know how to debate. Newsom knows how to speak, while DeSantis knows how to say the word woke. Newsom ended the debate by stating that neither him nor DeSantis would be their party's nominee in 2024. I'm tired. We have one more month to get through, and I feel exhausted. Not even by making this video, but just in general. I'm ready to be done with this year. On to the final chapter. On December 1st, the first female Supreme Court justice ever passed away. Appointed by President Ronald Reagan, her legacy will be defined by her conservative decisions as a justice. George Santos had a rough December. Not only was the guy exposed for using his campaign funds for OnlyFans, all of his lies were piling up, leading him to be expelled by Congress. The guy was removed, and now he's on some sort of revenge tour trying to expose Congress. He was the first congressman to be expelled without a criminal conviction since the Civil War. He's facing charges of wire fraud, money laundering, and he's going to trial next year. I'm gonna miss the dude. He was funny. Dude was walking around the Capitol randomly once with a random person's baby. He was so bizarre. Godzilla -1 released, becoming my favorite Godzilla movie ever. An incredible war drama, there's nothing else quite like it. Miyazaki also released a new movie I'm hoping to watch soon titled The Boy and the Heron. Excited to check this one out. YouTuber H Bomber Guy made a video on YouTubers and plagiarism, investigating YouTubers who took a little too much from news articles and Wikipedia. There was a guy named James Somerton, who's a plagiarist king, who took everything he wrote from something else. It's insane. The long-awaited Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer came out, confirming it takes place in Florida. The game is set to release in 2025. It looks good. However, I am upset it's set to release on PlayStation and Xbox first, before a PC release is made. The trailer went so viral that it beat the record for most viewed YouTube video in 24 hours that wasn't a music video. Eat your heart out, Mr. Beast. Time made Taylor Swift Person of the Year, and of course, that makes sense. Her cultural impact this year was huge, so fair's fair. Kevin McCarthy decided that Congress was no longer for him after having the worst year of his life ever. From being Speaker to no longer being Speaker, he announced he was leaving Congress by the end of the year, making the Republican majority in the House ever so tinier. The fourth GOP debate happened. With presidential candidates yelling at each other, it's all a little humorous because we all know they probably won't be the nominees. Something that was interesting though, is that Vivek was on a Twitter space this month and just started peeing with his mic on without even knowing it. That was great.
Humans in America, humans in
Somebody's got their thing off
Asia.
Vivek, that's your phone, Vivek. I'm not able to mute you. Vivek, perfect. Go ahead, Elon.
Sorry about that.
Hunter Biden was charged with 9 felonies. In reaction, Republicans further opened an impeachment inquiry on Joe Biden and his son. The investigation will carry over into the presidential election year. Holy shit, Alex Jones returned to Twitter in December, showing that anyone can really return. Kanye West made last-minute headlines by hyping up his new album with Ty Dolla $ign, only to not release it on the expected release date. He released a Backstreet Boys remix that had hilarious lyrics. He couldn't help but talk about Hitler and the Jews again, so that was weird. He also stated how he wanted to create a Middle Eastern city in his name. What is he on about? E3 was officially pronounced dead on December 12th. I loved it when I was a kid, but during its final years, it just became boring to me. I will always remember the cringy memories E3 did give me though. So in December, Twitch streamers were testing the limits of showing nudity on screen, which led Twitch to decide to change its guidelines for a day and say that artistic nudity was okay on the website, opening the floodgates, with Twitch having so many explicit streams the day that was announced. Twitch would later undo this rule, the very next day. What did they think was going to happen? In the weeks after, other Twitch streamers tried to get around nudity by covering themselves up in black bars, to which Boogie2988 said, "Hey, screw the black bars, I'm just gonna show everything," because in his argument, he thought his fat would cover up his genitals. It's disgusting. He has a podcast now with the Wings of Redemption called the Lolcow Podcast, in which each week they just get disparaged for their failures. If you want to be disgusted, I guess you could watch that. The Game Awards happened, and the game titled Baldur's Gate 3 won Game of the Year. But what was more notable was this meme that released of this chick screaming from Kojima's new game reveal. An In-N-Out opened up in Idaho, and people waited 8 hours in a drive-thru line for it. See, here in California, it takes me about 5 minutes to get my In-N-Out burger, cause we're epic. On December 15th, the new movie Wonka came out, a prequel to the Charlie and Chocolate Factory. It was okay, better than I expected it to be. At times the songs were catchy, but Timothy himself still seemed like an awkward choice to cast as Wonka. It's ironic because I only saw this movie because Kid Cudi invited fans to the Chinese theater to watch the movie with him and Timothy Chalamet. December 16th marked the 250th anniversary of the Boston Tea Party. To commemorate it, Boston went epic mode and dumped tea. Yeah, take that, Great Britain. In gay news, Ben Cardin, a Maryland senator, had the honor to know that one of his staffers had gay sex in one of the Senate rooms, to which it was filmed and posted on X. Funny enough, it was revealed that another senator, who also had a staffer, also had sex in another Senate room. Is this just the thing at Capitol Hill? Jonathan Majors, who plays King in the MCU, was found guilty of assault and harassment on December 19th. He was then fired by Disney and faces 1 year in prison. He defended himself by stating he was in a self-defense situation and was trying to run away from his girlfriend who was being abusive. Who really knows what the true story is? The Pope announced gay couples being together was A.O.K. They just couldn't marry. It's still a bizarre rule they have, but a big shift from what it was before, but still in the need of progress. On the same day, the Colorado Supreme Court banned Trump from the election ballot, after asserting he violated the Constitution by inciting an insurrection against the government. Trump has chosen to appeal this decision to the Maine Supreme Court. However, on December 28th, the Secretary of State for Colorado overturned this. However, later on the same day, in the state of Maine, the Secretary of State there banned Donald Trump from the primary ballot, so I guess we'll see what the Supreme Court says about this next year. December 19th continued to be action-packed when Dream finally responded to all of his allegations in a huge video trying to debunk everything. He provides evidence, but also tries to deflect his cringier moments by saying he was being ironic. Overall, people have responded well to what he has to say, however, he still faces mass scrutiny from the general public. No matter what he does, I believe he will always remain controversial. On December 26th, Kanye West officially apologized for his previous anti-Semitic statements he made last year. No 21 Jump Street to shield behind, he actually apologized, expressing regret. This is pretty big because Kanye admitted he was wrong for once. Dodge produced its last challenger ever? Whoa, crazy. Gypsy Rose was released from prison on December 28th. Her mother, who had faked Gypsy Rose's illnesses for many years, was killed by her. She was freed early from prison after having one of the most extraordinary and unusual cases ever. This Pop-Tart became a last-minute trend. I'm too tired for this, so let's just move along. After a year of red states passing anti-trans legislation, it ended with Ohio Governor Mike DeWine on December 29th vetoing a ban on gender-affirming care for minors. Perhaps the tides are changing in the Republican Party. Nikki Haley did an oopsie. She refused to mention slavery when someone on the campaign asked her to point out what the main cause of the Civil War was. She would later say that of course it was slavery, but the damage had already been done on a campaign that wasn't gonna get the nomination anyways. A guy had a monumental mess up while driving drunk. He hit a limo that happened to be President Joe Biden's motorcade, startling the president. Biden himself wasn't doing too well. Exiting 2023, he had the lowest approval rating at this point in his presidency than the past 7 presidents. He's bruised heading into 2024. By this time next year, we'll see what his fate has been, and what is sure to be a brutal election season. Same with Donald Trump, who faces various criminal charges and court cases. Who knows if either of these men will even be the nominee for their parties. And so, here we are, at the end of another year here on Earth, and I can't help but feel as if I'm still stuck as a content creator. I see other content creators moving past me, creating new, amazing things, while I still feel stuck at the same place I've been a year ago. I want to do so much more, but I'm fearful of experimenting to see a project as unsuccessful. I thought I had found what I wanted to do last year, but this year, I feel like I'm back where I started. What should I do in my ever-expanding search for this elusive ecstasy of gold? You would think, just by looking at the headlines this year, that there was nothing but bad.
They are still fighting fires tonight on the Hawaiian island of Maui, in the nation's deadliest fire disaster in 5 years. At least 36 people are known dead, and more than 270 buildings damaged or destroyed across a blackened landscape.
The shooting happened in Monterey Park. Authorities say the gunman killed 10 people, 5 women and 5 men. 10 others were hurt.
The so-called doomsday clock has moved closer to midnight than ever before.
It was set for 100 seconds before midnight in 2020, but now it's set for 90 seconds before midnight.
But humanity does something interesting every now and then. It surprises you.
Now to an incredible story of survival and the urgent race to bring relief to Maui.
Families helping to unload supplies for those who have lost everything, sorting through boxes of donations, from clothes to fresh produce.
Micah, we know for almost 5 months, many writers here in Hollywood have really struggled through this historic strike, but now we can tell you they are able to go back to work, and more importantly, they're going to start getting paid again.
Well, pop superstar Taylor Swift ended the first U.S. leg of her Eras tour last night that is turbocharging the economy.
In Philadelphia, the Federal Reserve reported the strongest month for hotels since the start of the pandemic. They said, in large part due to an influx of guests for the Taylor Swift concerts in the city.
The pandemic is officially over. The World Health Organization today declared an end to the COVID-19 global health emergency. The UN agency has lifted its highest alert level, which was in place for more than 3 years.
We tend to forget that there's so much good in the world, so much to celebrate, so much to look forward to. But not only that, so much to appreciate in terms of whoever came before. We have to remember, our time here is brief, so let's make the most of it, shall we? On December 10th, 2023, I was hanging out with my friend Luis, taking a drive around the block when my friend Victor messaged me about an opportunity. The musical artist Tyler the Creator was doing a pop-up shop in LA. He was there talking to fans. With nothing else to do, me and my friend traveled to LA to meet Tyler the Creator. The thing about the event is that they were very firm with no photos. Tyler wanted the fan he was talking to be in the moment, to think of the moment as more than just the spectacle of meeting someone famous, and more of a conversation to remember for a lifetime. He made eye contact with me when I arrived, and shook my hand. I felt no nervousness when I met Tyler. I mean, here was a guy whose music I've loved for years, whose album Igor got me through one of my worst chapters of my life. We talked about music that we loved, and about ventures we've taken through life. Finally, Tyler and I talked about the process of creating art, and how one can't be in the same place for too long, or else they'll go crazy. It was a conversation I really needed. I think without realizing it, I've been moving around this entire year, building connections with so many people, seeing so many new locations. I haven't been remaining in place, I've been everywhere. If my 17-year-old self would see me now, he would be ecstatic. As I finish up 2023, I hear words that have echoed years ago. Sadness and uneasiness is temporary, but so is happiness and determination. There have been many moments this year where I've been unsure, but yet throughout it all, I've had friends beside me to keep me company through these uneasy times. They've made this year so much better. Of course, I realize that I shouldn't be super personal. I realize that you, my dear viewer, have had your own fair share of trials, but also your own triumphs and victories that you will hold to your heart for many years to come. Thank you, dear viewer, for being you. Throughout all your losses and all your gains, you've managed to make it out of this hectic year. And just look at you. Think about where you started, and think about where you are now. Thank you for your continued viewership. Each day I'm appreciative of you for giving me this wonderful opportunity. To my family, friends, and to those I love very much, you are all incredible. Bless you all. I'm eyeing for a new year that'll be even bigger than whatever has come before. By the time we reach December 31st, 2024, we will be in an amazing haven unlike anything we could have imagined. With all of us supporting each other, impressed from where we started. For the last time in 2023, I've been Larry. You all have an amazing 2024. Happy New Year, everyone!